How we doing? Oh, what a day. What a day it's been. I've got some new lights. I've got a new mic stand. It was all on sale, so I bought it. Hold up. There we go. How we doing? How we doing, chat? Streamerino. Okay. Honestly, I have nothing prepared. I got home like hour and a half ago ish. And I was just like, you know what? I've got all this stuff. I might as well stream. I've got these like freaking lights. They're color changing. Hold up. The problem is one of the remotes hangs under my desk to plug into the computer, and the other one, it's like on top, so I have to like crawl around. But I can show you. Hold on, wait. Maybe if I turn it off, if I turn one of them off, it gets real dark, and I turn that one. Look at that. Ooh. Look at that. I can go pale. I can get white as hell, and I can get real bright with it. Yes, I glow. I glow like the sun. Oh no. Oh god, it's not helping. Wait. There we go. Where's the dimmer button? Oh god. There we go. See, look at that. It's literally, ooh. Dude, I'm a real social media guy now. And I've got my energy drink. Listen, it's gonna be a chill morning. Not much. I need to put a gate on this microphone. That's probably what I need to do. Let's do that first before I get into anything interesting or fun that anybody wants to do. Let's put a gate on the microphone. How do you put a gate on here? How does this go? Properties? No, I need advanced audio properties. Nope, that's not it. That's like audio. What even? Oh, dude. Never mind. That's not it. Where? Filters? Oh, filters. Oh, I do have a... Okay, I want it to open. So when I'm normally talking, I want to open at... What about here? What about here? What about here? Okay, I'm like snapping and whatnot. I want it to open when my dBs hit 30. Because if I'm just like talking normally at a normal level, actually, you know what? We're going full on the gain. We're getting gained up. That way I get maximum signal, because this thing needs so much gain. I thought about swapping it out, but I'm like, you know what? It gets the job done. Oh, I'm clipping. I'm peaking. What am I doing here? I need to... Oh, I see. When I do that, even it just like pops out. Okay, I can just move the mic a little bit farther away from me, because like I have it very close, and then it's bad. But I've got incredible mic technique, so it usually works itself out. Okay, so if I'm about there, I want it to open probably 40. Attack. What do I want my attack to be? 25 milliseconds? What about here? Okay, so let's do a 10 millisecond hold for 2, release after 150. Release after 160. Because then, yeah, it gives you just a little bit of time there. Yeah. But then, wait, and then watch it close. No, it needs to, the open needs to be maybe a little tighter. The open needs to be... Yeah, see, it's still opening when I do that. I think it is at least, right? Because it'll... There we go. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, when I talk, it goes really well. Um, does this suck? Hold up. You know what I can do is I can just play it on my phone. Sorry, this is something I should have done before I started streaming, but I had nothing better to do. So we're locked in, baby. We're swagging. We're swagging. We're swagging. We're making mommy milkers. I don't like that one. I apologize. I won't do that one again. Swagging. Oh, that was really bad. I sound horrendous. I'm sorry. I didn't want to be cringe like that. I don't want to be cringe like that. Okay, but this noise gate, like it just like opens right up right when I need it. It holds for just enough. Yeah, perfect. Okay, what's my fucking compressor? 2-to-1 output gain. 2-to-1. So I need my 2-to-2, right? So every dB I compress, I do my threshold. I can bring my threshold. I'll bring my threshold to like there. I think that's pretty good. Like a nice little 2-to-1. It attacks in a solid time frame. I'm okay with that. Like it's just enough compression to get me exactly where I want to be. Okay. What do we want to do now? Let's see what's on the news. Do we think it's anything cool? God, I hope not. Oh, do we want to look at the NBA sports scandal? That could be kind of fun. That could be like a fun little thing we do. Deep dive into the NBA sport betting scandal. Do a little scandal reading. You have never read about a scandal more scandalous than this one, I swear to God. Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep talking real quick. I'm gonna keep talking just so that I can test the stream. Okay. Okay, yeah, no, it sounds good. Let's turn the audio back on so I play videos and we'll remember. Okay, what are we doing here? It is deep dive into the NBA sports betting scandal by AP report. Ooh, we're getting a deep dive. Hell yeah. Professional basketball was stunned this week as a popular NBA Hall of Famer and head coach, a current player, and a former player were arrested by federal authorities on illegal gambling charges. Isn't there a connection to like the mob on this one? We are so back, dude. We're back in the 20s. The mob is back. We're doing crime. We're doing recession. The 20s, baby. Let's lock in. All right. Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and Damon Jones were named in indictments unsealed Thursday in New York. They were among 31 people, including alleged mobsters charged in the sprawling gambling scandal. Dude, that's sick as hell, dude. Do you think that these are like old school cool gangsters, or are they like boring like internet gangsters who are like, I'm part of the mob, and they have like a body pillow? That would be deeply disappointing. How am I doing? Dude, I'm doing good. How are you doing, Mr. Sirth02? You know, we be out here reading about the mob, ain't she? Okay. Billups, a 2004 NBA Finals MVP with the champions Detroit Pistons, was charged with participating in a conspiracy to fix high-stakes card games tied to La Cosa Nostra. Isn't that what we're talking about the NBA doing crime? La Cosa Nostra, that was Scarface's like mob, right? What was Scarface's mob called? Montana Cartel. Oh wait, not Scarface. Sorry, I'm thinking no, Scarface is not real. I'm thinking oh god. So are you like a MAGA? No. No, I would say I'm like whatever the opposite of a MAGA is. I want to make America liberal again. I am MAWA. Make America woke again. I was having a much better time when America was doing DEI, okay? Al Capone. What was Al Capone's mom called? The Chicago outfit. What is La Costa Nostra? I've definitely heard that. I love you already. Oh, thank you. Trump is so dumb. He is a super dumb guy, but don't underestimate him because all of his fucking cronies are a lot nicer in the sense that they know how to play the game a bit better, and they are just smarter generally. Means our coast. Is it like a Mexican cartel? I've heard the name somewhere. I don't remember where. Maybe a video game. Do you like Spanish? Do you understand? Okay. Unsuspecting gamblers were cheated out of at least $7 million. Damn, Rozier was accused in a separate scheme of exploiting private information about players to win bets on NBA games. Both men face money laundering and wire fraud conspiracy charges. Jones, a former assistant coach and player. No law, I just speak 10 languages. Damn. I can barely speak one, so it's pretty impressive that you can do way more than that. Dude. You're in the NBA. I feel like everybody in the NBA should be making enough money to not, You're Indian? Hell yeah. We love... How do we feel about Pakistan? You like Pakistan? Do we not like Pakistan? I know there's some big beef there, right? Between the Indians and the Pakistanis. The Indianis and the Pakistanis? Is that how it is? Or Indians and Pakistanis? I don't know. I don't know the exact terminology there. About 20 other defendants appeared in court where most pleaded not guilty. Many of those charged with violent crimes or with lengthy criminal records and ties to organized crime were detained. The charges against Billups... dying. Trump supports Pakistan, you tell me. Listen, I think both places are cool, okay? I don't really care. I'm like, if they want to live in two different countries, if you want it to be one country, if you want to hate each other, if you want to just like don't, as long as everyone's refraining from like bombing each other, that's really all I care about. I'm like, if you could just chill the fuck out and do it all through like diplomacy, that would be peak. But we're not there yet. Guys, my food's ready. Hold up, wait. I'm gonna play a video while I go get my food. Okay. Watch this. I'll be right back.
Long enough to know you don't just flip off what he is saying.
I'll be right back.
Do you think that this is actually something that they're going to try to attempt, and should they?
No. I mean, Bannon has no formal involvement with the Trump White House, and if you look at all the stories, the White House declined to comment. The White House rarely declines to comment, so this is him out on his own.
I would argue that the White House response ought to be, no, the president is going to follow the Constitution. He will not be running for a third term.
No formal involvement.
I don't know.
With the White House.
I'm going to dispute this just a little bit. The weeks leading up to January 6th, Steve Bannon was saying all hell was going to break loose if Donald Trump was not necessarily, they didn't certify the results for Donald Trump. Look at what happened. We had an insurrection. Since then, and I mentioned, and as I will, as much as I can, is he has not only pardoned 1,600 people that are out on the loose and waiting for their orders. And when Steve Bannon says that Donald Trump is potentially going to serve another term, he is sending a signal not only to those 1,600 people that rioted and caused an insurrection at the Capitol, but all of MAGA. And so my hope is that we will have a Supreme Court that will end up stopping this. But I actually think that Steve Bannon truly believes that this is the case. And
if Donald Trump runs for a third term, every Republican needs to be jailed immediately. Like, they all just need to go to jail. Just like, done. Jail time. Because it's not like normal jail. I want them to go to like brain jail. Like, to just like re-educate. Like, I want to put them in re-education camps, metaphorically. Because like, you can't possibly be that stupid, you know? Like, there has to be a line of like where the stupid ends. And I don't get the sense that the stupid ends where it should.
He's sending a signal to MAGA that Donald Trump should be the president of the United States in 2028.
Let me play, you brought up the Supreme Court. I'm going to play for you what Amy Coney Barrett said in an interview recently when she was asked about this issue. Listen.
The 22nd Amendment says you can only run for office for 2 terms.
True.
You think that that's cut and dry?
Well, that's what the amendment says, right? After FDR had 4 terms, that's what that amendment says.
Fox News should be shut down. Whoever is the Democratic nominee needs to run on a promise of stripping Fox News of its fucking news license, because it's not news, it's fucking propaganda to the worst degree. It's dangerous as fuck. It needs to stop, dude.
She sounds like someone who thinks that this will come before the court and doesn't explain more on the legal sort of underpinning of this.
Well, there's not much to explain. It's pretty clear. I mean, you can't.
I agree.
So I don't know why you would want.
Why are they in a kitchen? What's going on here? I feel like I missed something. Like, why is this the Food Network? He destroyed the job market, the stock market. Yeah. Listen, people will not understand that they are stupid and made the wrong decision until they feel the pain, okay? I need the fucking economy to collapse entirely. I need these people homeless, okay? Not because I want them to feel pain for the sake of feeling pain. I don't want people to suffer needlessly. I want them to suffer to understand their mistake, right? Like, and it not just suffer. It needs to be suffering in a way that can be directly tied to the Republican Party. So that you can point to and say, hey, look, this is the thing that caused your pain. And if we can't do that, we're fucked.
Has no formal involvement with the Trump White House. And if you look at all the stories, the White House declined to comment. The White House rarely declines to comment. So this is him out on his own.
I would argue the White House response ought to be, no, the president is going to follow the Constitution. He will not be running for a third term.
No formal involvement.
I don't know.
With the White House.
I'm going to dispute this just a little bit. The weeks leading up to January 6th, Steve Bannon was saying all hell was going to break loose if Donald Trump was not necessarily, they didn't certify the results for Donald Trump. Look at what happened. We had an insurrection. Since then, and I mentioned, and as I will, as much as I can, is he has not only pardoned 1,600 people that are out on the loose and waiting for their orders. And when Steve Bannon says,
the Gen Z as well. To an extent, like, yeah, there's definitely like a problematic alt-right pipeline that exists that really fucked up a lot of youthful minds, but that's like one of like 80 problems. Like it should be addressed in the messaging of the Democratic Party, and there should be people focused on it, but like if I'm running for president, like I don't expect the person running for president to be the guy who like is able to flip the entirety of Gen Z to like be normal again, right? Like Nick Fuentes has had his claws in the fucking youth for years.
That Donald Trump is potentially going to serve another term. He is sending a signal not only to those 1,600 people that rioted and caused an insurrection at the Capitol, but all of MAGA. And
fucking Scott Jennings, look at him sitting there like a little bitch cuck, a little baby boy. Yeah, fucked.
So my hope is that we will have a Supreme Court that will end up stopping this. But I actually think that Steve Bannon truly believes that this is the case, and he is sending a signal to MAGA that Donald Trump should be the president of the United States in 2028.
Let me play, you brought up the Supreme Court. I'm going to play for you what Amy Coney Barrett said in an interview recently when she was asked about this issue. Listen.
The 22nd Amendment says you can only run for office for 2 terms.
True.
You think that that's cut and dry?
Well, that's what the amendment says, right? After FDR had 4 terms,
yeah, it's originalism, right? These are all the originalist Supreme Court judges who should be originally supporting the original thing, which is originally what it said, which is you get 2 terms. Oh, but Donald Trump only got 1 term. Fucking lame. Oh, excuse me, I fucking died there. I just had like a burp and a stroke at the same time. I hate politics. I hate all these people. These people they're all so stupid. They're all so dumb. Like, Amy Coney Barrett is like remotely more normal than some Republicans, but like she's not. Like, she needs to be far more clear here. If she like is going to vote against this, she needs to be literally like, it says what it says. You cannot have it. Like, you need to be clear as fucking like glass, dog. Like, be obvious, please. They'll do what their daddy Trump says. Oh yeah, no, 100%. I think he'll amend the Constitution. I don't think you can do that. You can't do that without all the states. Like, that would be war. Like, that would be war to an extent that is like states' rights being. If the federal government can unilaterally amend the Constitution, no, that doesn't. You can't do that. That would be like, if he does that, I'm gonna go personally like do something. I'm not gonna Fed post, but I would do something if he did that.
That's what that amendment says.
She sounds like someone who thinks that this will come before the court and doesn't explain more on the legal sort of underpinning of this.
Well, there's not much to it.
If the court doesn't rule against it, they need to be fucking court-martialed and jailed. Or executed for treason. Either one.
Explain. It's pretty clear. I mean, you can't.
Within the boundaries of like the law, right? Like not just killing them. Like, they get a trial and they are ruled as traitors and then they are executed for treason. Supreme Court. They're not even, the problem is they're not even Nazis. They're not even like, Supreme Court specifically are not Nazis. Like, there are people like Donald Trump is not a Nazi. Like, there are acceptable comparisons you can make about these people and their ideology. Like Stephen Miller, neo-Nazi, 100%. Ideologically, but like Donald Trump is not ideologically a Nazi. Like Supreme Court, they're not ideologically Nazis. They're just MAGA. They're just stupid, and they're just like Trump, like dick sucks. Like, that's really all it is. Like, there's nothing inherently ideological about the way they operate outside of like being greedy and wanting like fucking power. Like, that's it.
So I don't know why you would want to talk it to death.
Why
if
do you
were...
think Steve Bannon keeps saying this, and that Trump keeps?
Yeah. Why do you defend this, bitch? Defend this, you fucking cuck.
You know, the 2028 hat on the desk and all that.
He keeps it in the, on the hats and stuff because he's trolling.
The president is just trolling. Oh, okay. I didn't realize the president could just troll. He is the leader of the free world, though. Like, him trolling shouldn't be acceptable, right? Because, he's the highest authority, so you would want him to be like the best version of what it means to be an American, which is not to randomly be trolling everyone. You don't want to just have those out all the time, right? Like, that would be unacceptable.
His opponents, and he knows how crazy it drives them when he does these kinds of things. Bannon, I don't know. I don't know him personally. I don't know him well.
God, what a fucking worm, dude. He needs to go to the re-education camps. He's got to go to the gulags. He's got to get in there.
At all. Maybe he believes this, maybe he doesn't. I just know what the Constitution says. I know what most Republicans would think about it, and I know what the Supreme Court would do about it. So.
What a whiny, weaselly little fucking goober, dude. Just out here being like, he's so slimy, dude. He's so slimy.
So I don't really think this is serious.
Just to get it on the record, Scott, if this came up and there was a real attempt to give Trump a third term, would you?
Oh, he's not comfortable right now. Look at this guy. He is not having a good time.
For it or against it?
I'm long on the record of opposing violating the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution.
This is kind of interesting. Maggie Haberman, who has.
You think he's trolling? I mean, I hope he's trolling, but like, most of these people, they claim to be trolling all the time, and then they do the things. Like, they're like, oh, he's just trolling, and then they do it. Like, it's obvious what's happening, right?
Trump for a very long time, so she understands how this works. And she agrees with you on the trolling. She says he clearly enjoys knowing that it bothers Democrats that he says this, and there's a trolling aspect to it. But the thing with all of his trolls is they start out that way, like Canada is a 51st state, and then he socializes them. They take on a life of their own, or he breathes more life into them.
Like, Elon Musk is a Nazi. The Nazi salute is not a one-off incident. He has talked openly about supporting the ADF, which is the neo-Nazi party in Germany. He has talked to the neo-Nazi party in Italy, and talked about how they need to retain their heritage and their culture, and Italy must be for Italians. Like, Elon Musk is a Nazi. That is, like, in more or less words. Like, he's probably just generally racist more than anything, right? He's a South American, like, obviously.
I've covered Trump as well. She is right about that. Steve Bannon is not in the White House, but he's constantly speaking directly to Trump, to people around Trump. These things do take on a life of their own in Trump's own mind. And often that is all that is needed, the permission structure, to figure out one way or another how to make things happen.
I mean,
Why are they, I don't understand why they're in a cooking set. Like, is the normal set they go on, like, being used for something? What's going on here? Why are we at Food Network?
pretty much understood what the vulnerable points are when it comes to the institutions. As I continue to say,
There's like a cooking show going on. What is this behind them?
Institutions are only going to work if the people within them are willing to defend them. And considering that he put together this Supreme Court, and he did it for a very specific reason, because he knows the things that he tries to do that are outside the lines, that if it gets there.
You also saw that one in White Boar. They were the Canary of the Far. I mean, I don't give a shit about Israel. That's not my complaint. I'm like, I don't care if they were there for fucking Israel. I'm talking about the horrendous rhetoric in, you know, as the way he just talks about Europe and saving European culture and you know, like, it's like just the shit that's like, it's just like trigger words of like, look, I'm secretly a Nazi, ooh. But like, also he's like fucking ketamine addled, so he doesn't actually know what he's doing.
He understands that he has crafted the perfect scenario, and it's checkmate. And so, like, for people to take this seriously, I think we absolutely should. And I'm sorry, I don't understand this game that we play with him. Is like, oh, when he says things that are very dangerous, he's kidding. But then when he actually does it, it's like, oh, I guess he meant it. It's like, I'm not.
We need every single Democrat to say this, because this is the reality. It's like, yeah, he does this over and over again. He's like, oh, look at the thing. Like, and he's so good at it. It's like he's incredibly politically effective because of his ability to just like keep bringing things up, and like, he makes things popular. He makes things politically popular. He spreads it to the base, and the base starts to pick up on it, and then they start doing it. It's very cringe, but like, it works.
I'm not going to play the whole what does he mean game and, oh, he's just trolling, when he has shown time and again that he's very serious about the things that he says. Well, everything is a test.
Yeah.
And he's just going to continually see how far he can get with everything and to see how far he can go. And yeah, considering how hard it was to get him out of the White House before, why do we think that this would be any different? We see who he admires. He admires dictators. The dictators don't leave. So, like, why would we think that?
I think the Democratic Party just needs more representative. You get their point. They just need better messaging. That's really all it is. Like you can run on any sort of platform, but it's just about the way you message on that platform that is going to be the thing that decides like what ends up happening. Like, that's really all there is. It's like, hey, do you want to have like populist messaging is only popular because like it sounds good. Like, nobody really knows like what, like, a lot of the stuff Zoran does. Like, if you dive into the economics and the numbers of like the way that he wants to set up New York through his term as mayor, you look at it and you're like, okay, like if Zoran ran on like the numbers and being like, here's our 5 city-owned grocery stores, they're going to pull in this much money from the government, and they're going to have this many people come through, and this is how much groceries are going to cost. Like you dive into the nitty-gritty of the messaging, and it gets really boring for people, and it doesn't get people excited. Like, people want to be excited. Like, people need like they're scrolling on their reels all day, and they're like, yes. They're getting their dopamine hits, and you have to. Zoran is a communist, though. No, but that's the point. It doesn't matter that he's a communist. His messaging is really good. It doesn't. The platform is almost entirely unimportant. It's how you message it. His communism clearly isn't negatively affecting him. He started out like polling at like 0%, and in the last 2 years he's gonna win, right? Like, that's insane, and it's because of his messaging, not because of his actual policies. Like, the concepts of the policies through the messaging are good, but nobody would be interested in him if his entire platform was him sitting at a table being like, hello, my name is Zoran Mamdani. I'm a communist. We're going to do this thing. this thing is going to be set up by these people, and I'm going to run it with this person, and we're going to donate this much amount of the city's annual budget to this part of it to make sure that this thing happens here. And that will affect this many people in this many regions for this long. And when this is done, this will happen. And then we'll do this. And then we'll do free buses. The buses will be free because the money, it's going to come out of here, and then the percentages are going to go over there. And then people are going to get on the bus. And those people will be like it's the same thing, but the messaging, the way you're describing it is very important, and he's very good at that.
That he was joking.
What does this say about the support for like a JD Vance who's widely seen?
They don't necessarily need to make TikTok edits, but like the way you message needs to be expanded across like a much larger medium. Like you need to be able to message, you need to be able to go on CNN and message what you want to do policy-wise in a more boring way that is more like CNN and news oriented. You need to be able to format it for TikTok. You need to be able to format it for like a 15-minute YouTube video. Like you need to be able to take whatever your message is and be able to find a really good way to put it on every platform. Like that's why like Donald Trump, his messaging is incredible because all of his policies, like his policies during the election, they weren't policies because they didn't really, there was no backing behind him. It was build the wall, mass deportations, drill baby drill. Like all of these things are just like little easy to remember, snappy things that like everyone's like, oh, I know what that means. But like when you dive into the policy, you have no idea. Like when Trump is talking about like, oh, we're going to do deportations. We got to get rid of all the 35 billion illegal immigrants or whatever. You end up in a place where it's like, everyone's like, yeah, I kind of get what that means. But then nobody knew what it looked like because now when you look at what ICE is doing, going around arresting American citizens, being crazy. Yeah. But the policies were racism and genocide. But guess what? The messaging wasn't racism and genocide. Not really. It was just kind of snappy, fun little drill, baby, drill. We're going to get the oil out of the ground. We're going to do it. Like, how is that going to happen? Nobody knows. But he's going to drill, baby, drill. Healthcare policy? He didn't have a healthcare policy. But he also didn't have a message for it, so people just forgot about it. Like it's literally just, if you could just be a little more snappy, a little more fun, people will vote for you.
Seen as perhaps the next person in line, that someone like Steve Bannon continues to suggest that it's not going to be the next guy. It's not going to be Don Jr. or JD Vance. It has to be Trump. Let me just play a little bit more from this interview with The Economist where Bannon kind of expounds on that.
The only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people, okay? And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. And so I think we're going to be in good hands there. We need to finish what we started. And President Trump is...
Why does he have 3 pens? J. Vance also whispered, no, you tie too much to ideology in a way that is a little bit silly. He is not a white supremacist. He is just a coward who is hungry for power. He is like, you are not a white supremacist who marries an Indian woman. You cannot do, ideologically, that does not actually work out in any reasonable way. He's just a Republican worm who, chooses to cater to the alt-left or to the alt-right. Like that's what JD Vance is. Like he caters to the neo-Nazis, he caters to the Nick Fuenteses, the Groypers, like, but like he's not an actual Nazi. You just call me a worm? No, JD Vance is a worm, not you. You're not a worm. Unless you are a worm. I could be wrong. You like my lighting? Look, I've got these lights. Look, I like glow. I glow in a healthy way. And I got a new mic stand. Sorry, I'm just very excited. I got a lot of new toys. Anyways, Bannon is like, yeah, he is kind of like an ideological thought leader. Yeah, no, clearly, because like if you look at his statements pre joining the Trump campaign, he was a Trump hater. He was a never Trump Republican, like obviously, like, and you cannot flip to that. Like at least maybe it is. Maybe it turns out that like he fucking was brainwashed and became an actual neo-Nazi. Maybe that's true. I don't know how he'd still have an Indian wife, but but like nothing about the way he functions or speaks or tweets suggests to me that he is like ideologically a neo-Nazi. He's just ideologically like power hungry. That's like his driving thing. Like him and Marco Rubio, like that's, I think very clearly that's their thing, is like they just are power hungry and they will sacrifice every moral they have, every belief and value in order to pursue more power and probably become president. Like one of them guarantee want to be president. Pete Hegseth, like pretty much every member of the cabinet probably has at least thought about being the like new face of MAGA once Trump dies, right? We'll see how that actually turns out, because I don't think any of them have the riz to really control the MAGA base. Nobody besides Trump does, but we'll see how it turns out. He has no honor who ridicules on children. Oh yeah, no, 100%. He'd fucking kill his wife. He would absolutely kill his whole family if it made him become president, right? Like he would January 6th his own house. He would send the racists to go murder his family if it meant that he would win the White House.
The instrument, a providential instrument to finish this job.
Lydia, if you're JD Vance, what are you thinking right now?
I think he thinks that Steve Bannon is trolling. I don't think he takes this seriously the way that we are at this table. That's just the reality. And even Bannon said he thinks it's the will of the people. If the will of the people is clearly not supporting that whatsoever.
The Republicans need to speak out, and I'm not sure we are going to get Republicans actually telling Trump this is not a good idea, or Steve Bannon. And I think that's...
Yeah, no one's going to do that, because if you haven't realized, they're in a cult. Trump is the cult leader. So if Trump says something, it becomes reality. Like it's...
Trump is not saying it's a good idea. I mean, he said just...
What do you mean? He literally is selling hats. He's literally selling hats. He's talking about it and has been talking about it since he won the election. What are we... Oh, God, I hate how Scott Jennings is literally evil. He is evil.
A few weeks ago, I'm not running in 20. I mean, he's
it's
poo-pooed
a clickbait
this.
headline.
He has poo-pooed this.
But you would call up Trump if he is considering this and tell him this is a bad idea.
If he asked me, I would tell him, you can't do this.
Okay.
US President.
We had some sort of drama, I guess, yesterday about Trump tariffs and some sort of ad. So let's frickin' see. Let's see how this goes. Oh, U.S. deploys the largest warship. Hell yeah, we're going to war. Trump is literally in the Epstein files. Because they're in a cult. You don't understand. They just do and believe whatever they are told. They have no ideology. Yes, they are literally blind. They are tunnel visioned on politics. They are incredibly tribal. This is a group of people that the one wrong word will turn their brains off immediately. Like, these are baby people. These are people with baby brains who cannot handle any pushback to their ideology. So, like, conversing with them is incredibly difficult because you have to treat them with kids' gloves in order to really get anywhere, because they get triggered very quickly. Like, you say slightly the wrong thing and they go, and they get real angry and they're like, you have to Trump the racist. Like, it's cringe. It's cringe. It's cringe. It's cringe. I hate them. They're stupid.
President Donald Trump says he's terminating trade talks with Canada over an ad featuring the words of former US President Ronald Reagan. Ontario's provincial government released the ad with audio from Reagan's 1987 speech, where he said tariffs hurt American workers.
They go from Christian nationalists to white nationalists to Nazi. Yeah, no, they're just dumb people. They're just dumb people. It's, you know what's funny? Even if you want to, you cannot hold office and the president become vacant. Unless the Supreme Court lets him. You're forgetting that the Supreme Court doesn't give a shit about the Constitution, right? Like Donald Trump has criminal immunity, right? Like, just remember that is happening. Donald Trump was given criminal immunity from all crimes by the Supreme Court. Okay, this is not a court that cares about rule of law. This is not a president who cares about rule of law.
Workers and consumers, and triggered fierce trade wars. In a social media post, President Trump called the ad fake and announced the end of negotiations.
Which is fake. Like, do you think it's AI? The Reagan quote is all AI. They have themselves. Yeah, no, like the whoever the next Democratic president is, if we ever have that sort of thing again, like really, like needs to fix the court. The court needs to be fixed. Like if it looks like it's packing the court, let's pack the court. If it's some sort of reformation of the court, like whatever it is, but the court needs to be fixed because the way our country is now functioning, has shown like deep cracks in the way that our system is set up, and it puts a lot of trust on people being normal and people actually having good intentions, which unfortunately is not happening right now, and we are a little fucked because of it.
Paula Newton is back with us this hour. And Paula, we were just hearing from Mark Carney before we boarded a plane to Asia a short time ago. Tell us what we heard.
Let's watch
the Democratic
this.
Party is a party
I have to go check on my laundry. I'll be right back.
of the working class. To the extent it has any shared self-identity at all, it is that. But the Democratic Party is no longer the party of the working class. It doesn't matter if you define the working class by income, by education, or both. Democrats have been losing ground among these voters for years now. In 2024, Donald Trump won both voters making less than $50,000 a year, and he won voters without a college degree. And the way Trump won these voters wasn't just to rack up a giant majority among the white working class. First in 2020, and then even more so in 2024, Trump made huge gains among working class Hispanic voters, significant gains among black voters. Republicans are building the multiracial working class coalition the Democrats imagine themselves as speaking for. There are two theories of how Democrats lost the working class and what it might take to win them back. One theory says the Democrats were once economic populists and they just need to be that again.
The people of America have no quarrel with business. They insist only that the power of concentrated wealth shall not be abused.
They need to rediscover that old-time New Deal religion. The other theory says that the working class knows perfectly well the Republicans cut taxes for the rich and Democrats expand health care for the poor. But the working class feels unrepresented by Democrats in a broader way, left behind and looked down upon by a party that's moved sharply left on culture, on climate, on guns, on immigration. A party that doesn't talk like them.
Guys, I'm going to put my laundry away. I will be
Jared
right
Abbott
back.
is a director of the Center.
Hello, I'm back. Jesus Christ. You ever want to do something simple and easy and just be like, okay, I can just do this and be done? And then it fucking just keeps getting like more and more and more and more? That was me. It was food, and then it was helping people, and then it was laundry, and then how to fix some laundry. And don't recommend doing anything. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's watch some freaking Ezra Klein and chill. You know what I'm saying? All right.
The Democratic Party sees itself as a party of the working class. To the extent it has any shared self-identity at all, it is that. But the Democratic Party is...
No, we're the party of woke, obviously. Why would you ever suggest we work class? Why would I work for my class when I could be woke for my class? All right, it was a real bad joke. I'm sorry.
No longer the party of the working class. Doesn't matter if you define the working class by income, by education, or both. Democrats have been losing ground among these voters for years now. In 2024, Donald Trump won both voters making less than $50,000 a year, and he won voters without a college degree. And the way Trump won these voters wasn't just to rack up a giant majority among the white working class. First in 2020, and then even more so in 2024, Trump made huge gains among working class Hispanic voters, significant gains among black voters. Republicans are building the multiracial working class coalition. The Democrats imagine...
See, they are doing that, but also what they're doing is literally taking a decent portion of those people and deporting them. So they're like, the Republican Party works when they're not in power. Like, they are incredible at messaging, and they're incredible at, yeah, basically just messaging. That's all they're good at, is messaging. So, like, as soon as the Republican Party has gone back in power, we're now in a position where the Republican Party is fucking themselves super hard over and over and over again. So, like, the Republican Party is great as a fantasy, but, like, in reality, terrible. The Democratic Party is pretty great in reality, but terrible in fantasy because the picture that is painted of the Democratic Party is a picture painted by Republicans. So, like, Democrats, when they're in power, need to be far better at messaging, and also when they're out of power, like both and both. And they're getting better, but they're not where they should be.
Themselves as speaking for. There are two theories of how Democrats lost the working class and what it might take to win them back. One theory says the Democrats were once economic populists, and they just need to be that again.
The people of America have no quarrel with business. They insist only that the power of concentrated wealth shall not be abused.
They need to rediscover that old-time New Deal religion. The other theory says that the working class knows perfectly well the Republicans cut taxes for the rich and Democrats expand healthcare for the poor. But the working class feels unrepresented by Democrats in a broader way, left behind and looked down upon by a party that's moved sharply left on culture, on climate, on guns, on immigration. A party that doesn't talk like them and doesn't like the way they talk.
Yeah, that's because they're stupid and they're Republicans. Like, I'm gonna look down on you if you're a stupid person, right? Like you have to be normal in order for me to like you. Like, I can't like a Republican because you're stupid. You're a dumb person. Like, it's a different type of thing. Like, yeah, I'm gonna look down on a retard. Like, especially when they're not actually brain damaged. Especially when they're like a normal person who like is just entirely brain broken. Like, don't get me wrong, they're a victim. I feel bad for them. Like Republicans they're stupid, but like I just feel bad for them because they're so clearly like just their brains are shattered in like a variety of ways that like they're victims. Like I've like when you get up into the like higher echelons of power, it converts back to like them being evil, but like on the ground, on the voter base, like it's just stupid people. It's just dumb people voting for dumb policies with no thoughts in their brain. Like they're victims. They are victims of the culture war. And I feel bad for them. As everyone should. Like, you should feel like when I talk to Republicans, you gotta be sympathetic because like they're hurting people and their brains are a mess and they need help. They need to be to talk to like children, right? Like very slow, very small words, just very easy, because you don't want to scare them away with big words. You don't want to scare them away with scary things like woke or DEI, because they don't like big words like that. They don't like the word woke, you know? They couldn't define it for you if they tried, but it's scary. Woke is a scary word. You don't want to be too woke. You might hurt a Republican's feelings.
Jared Abbott is a director of the Center for Working Class Politics. His group has done a huge amount of polling and research on what working class voters believe and what they want to see in their politicians. Among their findings is what they call the Democratic penalty, which is a force that should scare the hell out of Democrats. So I asked him on the show to describe what he's found and what it would take for Democrats to once again be the party of the working class. As always, my email, EzraKleinShow@nytimes.com. Jared Abbott, welcome to the show.
Thanks, appreciate the invitation.
So I want to begin in a recent study you all did where you found something you called the Democratic penalty.
Mm-hmm.
What was the Democratic penalty and how did you find it?
So, we were sort of interested in this idea that Sherrod Brown couldn't win in Ohio, right? It's like, oh my God, if we're economic populists and the greatest economic populist holding on in a red state couldn't continue holding on, what's going on there? And so we thought, and we had good reason to think that was probably a brand identity problem. And we just kind of wanted to look at that in a more, slightly more scientific way. So what we did was we had these hypothetical candidates that we gave to Rust Belt voters in this survey, and they were all economic populists. And we had some of the candidates be Democrats, say this is a Democratic candidate, and some say that they were independents. And the exact same candidates that had an I versus a D did 10 points better in Michigan, did 15 points better in Ohio. And interestingly, in Pennsylvania, we didn't see much of a Democratic penalty, and that's something that we're kind of trying to think more about. But in the other three states, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin, we see these massive penalties, just because of the to think more about. But in the other three states, Ohio, Michigan,
where was the place
better in Michigan, did 15 points better in Ohio. And interestingly, in Pennsylvania, we didn't see much of a Democratic penalty, and that's something that we're kind of...
Josh Shapiro is the governor of Pennsylvania, right? Josh Shapiro? Governor of Pennsylvania, okay. Who is running the House in Pennsylvania? Democrat. Yeah, okay, god damn it. This video is going to be really painful because he's already missed the point. He's not paying attention. He's already missed the point, which is half of it is the messaging, is allowing the Republican majorities in these states to message in such a way that makes people feel like they dislike Democrats. And so that's why an independent's going to do better on the aesthetics because, he's not a Democrat. All you need to do is just fucking do better, like message better. None of this is difficult. None of the I think Ezra Klein does some decent stuff, but this guy is just inherently stupid. Maybe there's still an hour of this, so maybe I'm missing something important, but it's just messaging, dude. It's not like the Democrats have some secret disadvantage and the Republicans are incredible, because they're not. It's just messaging. You could finish this whole podcast right now with Democrats need to message better, and then they need to actually message better when they do good things, right? Joe Biden did some fucking great stuff, the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, that was great. The Chips and Science Act, also great. A lot these things that were done, the infrastructure bill, whatever that was called, these things did really good things and are very positive for the country. But because Joe Biden was a little bit mentally frail, I would say, he was unable to effectively utilize the bully pulpit and message on those things. FDR was able to highly, highly motivate his base and message incredibly well on all of these things. But when you have a Joe Biden, it's he can't message on it, even though it's good. And because people are always on their phones looking at the messaging that gets through is the Republican stuff. It's the stuff that's super radicalizing and super yeah, rah, rah, rah. It's just a different type of thing. It's not...
trying to think more about. But in the other 3 states, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin, we see these massive penalties, just because of the D next to their name. And so we were just trying to quantify how bad actually is it just to have the albatross of the D around your neck. And it's pretty bad, especially in those working class heavy Rust Belt states.
Was your study able to figure out what it is about the Democratic Party label that is dragging these candidates so far down?
Well, we did kind of like an open-ended blue sky question about, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about the Democratic Party? Maybe it's, you could work somebody up enough to get them to really freak out about the culture war stuff, but is that really top of mind? And so we had these open-ended questions that we asked, all the 3,000 people in the survey. And, we found that, there was a lot of that, of course, that some people felt the Democrats were out of touch and focused on the wrong priorities and were, woke idiots and all that stuff. There was a good amount of that, but it was completely dominated by concerns about the performance of the Democratic Party and having ideas that they don't follow through on and not being a party that actually is the party of the working class. And so that tells me that, while there's a huge mix of things going on, and while we can't ignore the sort of cultural, resonance or lack thereof of the Democratic Party in all kinds of different ways, not just policies, but in affectation and in style, a big part of the story here is also people just don't believe that the Democrats are going to deliver on the things that they talk about. And that's a huge problem.
I was looking.
No, that's not what it is. No, it's fucking. Oh, God, he's so stupid. No, it's not that. It's clearly not that. It's obviously not that. Because the Democrats delivered on everything they promised in the election. Joe Biden promised shit, he did it. Like, it's just the messaging. It's just messaging. Oh, God.
Looking into.
I'm doing a comment. The Dems literally just need to message better. That this podcast was too long and fancy to describe the actual problem. Stop being smart and start making TikToks. Based and true. I stand by everything I've said.
Sherrod Brown's campaign for a bunch of reasons, but partly for this podcast. And I was looking into the attack ads that his opponent, Bernie Moreno, ran against him.
Brown backed Biden, voting to let transgender biological men participate in women's.
This is you're watching in real time. This is the messaging I'm talking about. Like this it's stupid and it's obviously not true, but guess what? It works. The messaging works. It affects people and they get scared and they vote for the Republican. Like it's so obvious.
Sports and supported allowing puberty blockers and sex change surgeries for minor children.
That attack ad was pure culture war.
Yeah.
But it seemed to move voters enough that Brown had to put a counter ad on the air.
Biological men? What if I told you all of this was a lie, a complete lie, and Bernie Moreno knows it?
We can verify the claim that Brown voted to let transgender biological men participate in women's sports is false.
I'm sure Brown and I approve this message.
So how do you think about on the one hand, what you find in the study is a more diffuse sense the Democratic Party is ineffective, it's out of touch, it's corrupt. But then when you look at how Moreno, a car dealer owner who had to settle a bunch of wage theft lawsuits, is actually running against Brown, it's on the cultural side.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always go back to
it's because the Republican Party has no real policy that will help anyone ever, right? Like, that's just clearly, like, I'm never going to vote for a Republican that I can think of in my lifetime, as long as they keep doing what they're doing now, which is zero policy, all culture war. It's boring. It's boring and it's stupid. It's a waste of time. It's like, just either give me good policy. Like, if you want to be the guys that fix our budget deficit, okay, don't cut taxes. What's wrong with you? Why would you do that? Why would you cut taxes? You need more money. Like, it's so dumb.
Ryan in 2022, and he was like one of the strongest.
Also in Ohio.
also
running
in
against
Ohio,
J.D. Vance.
running against Vance, and he didn't just run like a kind of counter like Sherrod Brown did. He like went full bore. And there was this one funny ad he had where he was like throwing, I don't know if it was basketballs or baseballs at these little TV screens. And one said like, defund the police. He's like, I'm not doing that.
And that's from the people who sell out Ohio workers. I vote against them too. Ohio workers need a tax cut. And here come the culture wars. I'm not that guy.
But the point being that even when Democrats go against the culture war stuff, it doesn't necessarily help them that much because the Democratic brand is so shot. And so I think that's
Then you just have to keep pushing. You just have to... The Republican Party's message was shot too after Obama. Nobody thought after Obama won, nobody thought a Republican was going to win again. Like, it's so stupid, dude. It's so... Like, everyone was like, oh, Obama's won. Look at the multicultural base that Obama has gathered in the Democratic Party. And all the new young people are going to come up and be Democrats. And but no, it's none of that. It's just messaging. It's just hammering home the same thing over and over again. People are stupid and they are easy to manipulate. Come on, dude. Like, this is not difficult. This is so easy.
a really big problem. But yeah, is it an issue that Republicans are weaponizing culture war against Democrats, and we need to allow our candidates in difficult contexts to understand their voters and what they need to do in order to relate to their own specific electorate? And if that means, they need to take, positions that progressives would get upset about, then yeah, so be it, because we need to win, way more seats in order to stop the Republicans. And this is not a time for our side to mess around. We need to not just win a majority, but if we want to actually do anything that's going to turn things around for working class people, we need to have a supermajority, which is, unimaginable right now. And so the reality is that, yes, are these candidates in swing districts going to have to, work hard to push back against these caricatures and, which are often based on actual things that Democrats, maybe not them, but other Democrats have done? Yeah, many of them are going to have to do that. And we need to give them the room to do that so that we can experiment with all kinds of different populisms out there and figure out which ones work and in which...
God, they're so obsessed with populism, dude. Stop. I swear to God, Republicans do all the horrible things, but they're so smart about it. Democrats are just stupid. They're too smart. Democrats are too smart. This guy's just overthinking the fuck out of this. What is going on, dude? No. Be normal. None of this is correct.
Context, and it's always going to be a case-by-case basis.
I do think it's worth saying that both Ryan in 2022 and then definitely Brown in 2024, they overperformed. If every Democrat in the country had run as far ahead of Kamala Harris as Sherrod Brown ran ahead of Kamala Harris, the election would have looked very different, at least congressionally. So something, I mean, the connection he had with Ohio, the campaign he ran, it was a strong campaign.
Absolutely.
It just wasn't enough to get out of the gravitational pull of the Democratic Party.
And then, even like a Dan Osborne, that's the independent, run, who overperformed even more than Sherrod Brown did. He had to make a lot of the same decisions, right? He's had platforms around immigration that, were completely anathema to progressives, right? He said, "I'm with Trump on building the wall," right? He literally said that in his campaign ads. And
in fact, why don't we play that ad? Because we have it.
Oh, nice.
And I approve this message. Across Nebraska, people are tired of a corrupt Washington controlled by corporations and billionaires. Deb Fischer, they love her. Heck, they own her. And that's exactly why they're spending millions lying about me. Social Security to illegals? Who would be for that? I'm where President Trump is on corruption, China, the border. If Trump needs help building the wall, well, I'm pretty handy. Deb and the...
You know how I know it's purely messaging? Is that a guy running in Nebraska has to talk about how he wants to help Donald Trump build the wall. What the fuck? In what world does a person in Nebraska care about the border? How many illegal immigrants are you seeing in Nebraska? What is this? These people shouldn't care about the border. They're not a border state. There's no policy on the border that would affect them in pretty much any way. What? Oh, it's so stupid. Oh, it's so dumb. It's we just keep watching me get proved right over and over and over again. And then these guys sit in this chair in this podcast and go, yeah, the Democratic Party needs to do populism. Like, no, just do messaging different. Just message differently.
The career politicians, they've tried to stop Trump, just like they're trying to stop me.
So Osborne, arguably the most overperforming candidate in that whole election, and runs with neither party, and is very economically populist, and also runs pretty far right on some other issues. What did you make of that campaign? What are the lessons of it? What should people take from it?
I mean, I think it was, extremely impressive and encouraging, and it shows that to the extent possible, the folks who are opposed to Trump and the Republicans, be they Democrats or independents, they need to be much more experimental in the way that they handle elections, particularly, maybe not so much in swing states where it's going to be a hard sell to get Democrats to like not run a candidate in Pennsylvania or something.
And maybe I'm dumb. Like, are they just like talking over me? Like, I don't get it. Like, they're describing the messaging as the thing, and then they're identifying it as something else over and over again. They're like, you need to be experimental with your campaign. No, you just need to message better. That's it. That's it. Just message better. Like, policy clearly is not the thing. Because if policy was the thing, a Republican would not have won in my lifetime. Ever. Anywhere.
But like in Nebraska, they were able to get the Democrats to just sort of sit it out and allow Osborne to sort of be a real challenger against Fisher. And if we can find more states where, deep red states like that, it's going to be, we can take on the Republicans on their own turf. And I think that's going to be a huge part of the path forward. Although it's extremely hard to find candidates like Dan Osborne. He had a very specific profile, has a very specific profile.
Do you want to describe his profile and where he came from?
He was a guy that had never really been a Democrat or a Republican. He didn't, he was sort of a mechanic, and he had been a union leader and had taken out his fellow Kellogg workers on strike a few years before he ran for office. And he's just this sort of like very humble, plain-spoken guy who's just really compelling as a tribune of the sort of, he embodies all of the economic populist and working class ideas that he's putting forth. And that's not an easy combination of features. So, but I think it's not unreasonable. And we're seeing a new crop of folks, Democrats mainly, like Nathan Sage in Iowa and Graham Plattner in Maine, and that are all kind of in the similar kind of space of, strong economic populists who are completely focused on cost of living and on sort of the need to center working class issues and call out, economic elites for screwing us over for decades. And they're also taking pragmatic positions to greater or lesser degrees on issues where, their particular electorates are not with progressives.
Okay. This is what I'm talking about when I say the Republican Party is evil. Grocery store prices are artificially inflated by SNAP, welfare programs, etc. The Republican Party literally just doesn't want anything good. They don't want anything good, obviously. They literally are like, hey, we want to get rid of SNAP. We want 42 million Americans to starve. That's the messaging. That's what they're saying. Like, this is not a party that should have any popularity in the country anywhere. But they do, because their messaging, like these fucking crazy Twitter accounts run by all the Nazis, they say it because it's just them and their Nazi friends hanging out. But when you look at the party federally in states, the messaging is Democrats are evil and want to trans your baby. And somehow that works. I don't know what it is about the messaging they're doing that it works, but like we need to copy it. Republicans want to de-trans your babies. They want to take your trans kids and make them straight. Maybe that's what we do. I don't know. Whatever. All right.
And, we need to allow them to do that experimentation, or we're not going to be competitive at all nationally. And that's obviously not just a problem for Democrats, but that's a problem for the future of our democracy.
So when you look at that Osborne ad, he doesn't just move right on policies. He actually aligns himself with Trump.
Yeah.
And one just reality in a lot of the places that Democrats want to win is that Trump is popular in those places. Politically, if you're just being strategic, does it change how you should talk about Donald Trump? Do they need to be in a different place than most Democrats are on him?
Yeah, I mean, if I were on that campaign, I mean, I would have probably thought that was a smart thing to do, right? Because it's kind of an inoculation. Like if it's part of the Democratic penalty issue, right? Is that like to the extent that you're really just vilifying Trump all the time, then you're kind of signaling you're a Democrat, right? And so they were trying to inoculate Osborne against those attacks because Trump is overwhelmingly popular among the people they're trying to get to vote for Osborne. Is that going to change now that Trump's in office and all the stuff he's done is pushing our democracy to the brink and is, historically a frightening period that we're now living in? Is he going to be able to or do the same thing? I don't know. Maybe it's changed now that Trump has had almost a year in office and done some of the damage that he's done. But at least in 2024, yeah, I mean, that was definitely rational.
So one lesson you could take from Osborne is that in states where the Democratic Party is 25 points underwater, to stop running Democrats, try this independent play. I guess my question about that, because it definitely makes sense, is whether or not that would work for any length of time.
Yep.
Because
obviously not, right? Because if you just push all your people to be independent, you have no party. There's no party if everyone's an independent. And you kind of need the party. Like you need the structure of it. It's not like the Democratic Party is by no means perfect. But like the DNC, these like structures, these are kind of important for some sort of national image, which like the national image is fucked. And I think to an extent, rightfully so. I think there are problems for sure. It's just like, we're just like misdiagnosing the what's going on, I think. We're like, oh, we just need to run as independents. Like that's not the solution. Like you can run as independent all you want, but like if your messaging sucks, you're probably going to do worse than if you have great messaging, but you run as a Democrat. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Began to work, but then they're voting in a more democratically aligned way once they're in office. Does it just begin to be seen as a scam, right? It's maybe something you can do in one or two places, but ultimately you need to figure out a way to rehabilitate the Democratic Party's brand.
Yeah. And either you're successful in doing that, and then the Democratic Party brand somehow incorporates the things that made those independents distinctive, and then we're in good shape. We're now the party of the working class again, or the independent candidates need to continue using that tension to differentiate themselves from the party going forward. And that's, I don't know, if I had to guess, I would say that second outcome is probably more likely. But you're absolutely right that after a certain amount of time, people are going to like notice that, wait a minute, these guys are just Democrats, unless they legitimately break with Democrats.
Yeah, unless they're actually not.
Yeah. And so to some degree, they absolutely are going to have to do that. And the strategy for doing that we as sort of like economic populists in my camp would want to see is breaking with Democrats when it comes to, not standing up for workers. But that's not the only way in which they're going to do it, obviously.
Is there a case for just a worker-oriented third party? People always want to do a third party presidentially, which is very, very hard to do.
Yeah.
But you could absolutely imagine some kind of third party that is just running candidates in a couple of congressional districts or Senate races. And if they get in, they begin to be a little voting bloc together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a little bit traumatized from like arcane debates on the left about this question that I've had for a long time. So, but nonetheless, I think that that's a very good possibility. Like why can't the Teamsters and the Steelworkers get together and have their own, sort of mini party structure that's just about union stuff, or like you already have the Union Caucus in the House, where there's a lot of ideology. They don't really, they're not super important in the politics of the chamber. But nonetheless, like they have a lot of ideological diversity on many different things, but they can come together around core worker issues. And if you had an organization like that being supported by some of the bigger, industrial unions, which have a lot of Republican voters.
Joe Biden was the most pro-union president in American history. He literally went on a fucking picket line with union workers. And we lost. endorsements from unions still. If this isn't clearly just a messaging issue, then it's nothing. Like, it cannot be anything else. Because you can't, I don't get it. You can't look at what's going on and be like, oh yeah, the party is like major. No, it's just messaging.
In them, then yeah, I think that would be valid. But I think we need some test cases first, right? You need to show that an Osborne can actually win, and you need to show that you can do something like this in more places. And then once you do, I think it would make a lot of sense for those folks to try to do something like that, to like not just have independent candidates, but build an independent organization. I just think it's something that should emerge organically, rather than, I don't see what benefit we get from just sort of saying we're doing this now and like let's hope people flock to our banner. I think it goes in the other direction.
I want to get at the broader question behind this conversation. Democrats have been losing working class voters steadily for some number of years now. It's been a decline, and now you see Republicans winning among both non-college and lower income voters. It didn't used to be like that. This is a change. This gets called class de-alignment. Not my favorite term.
It's very catchy.
Very catchy. But talk me through class de-alignment. What is it? What's the story behind it?
The basic story is that, the Democrats on surveys, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, the vast majority of working class people, Americans in general, said the Democratic Party, what they think of when the Democratic Party is, that's the party of working people, right? And by the 90s, 2000s, that was no longer the case. And, my version of the story anyway, is that Democrats started to move away from their focus on working class issues in the 1970s and 80s.
All right, I want to watch something real quick. A Sonslop on r/Destiny. Wait, audio.
Trump was potentially going to use to potentially put pressure on Jordan's King to try and take in more Palestinians, correct? I mean, that's...
Oh, shit, look at that. Watch that again. Look at that. And zap. Look at that. Look at that fucking monster. Dude, how many X's? Dude, what a real journalist. What a real journalist. Hell yeah.
With, this sort of onset of deregulation, and then eventually leading into the Clinton years when, he signs NAFTA, which has devastating effects on communities, leading to, not just job loss, but community devastation. And the Democrats, there's a great paper called Compensate the Losers that sort of gets into this. And that's basically what they said is, you guys got screwed. Okay, but, we're going to do different kinds of redistribution that's going to make you whole again. We're not going to necessarily get you good jobs again. We're not going to necessarily give you the social status that you used to have when you had high-paying jobs that you felt good about and that were meaningful in your community. But we're going to make sure that, you have something like a decent education. We're going to get you some kind of better health care, whatever. And that wasn't enough. It was not nearly enough to stem the tide of stagnating wages and stagnating quality of life. And so working class people generally, many of them started to feel betrayed by the Democratic Party. And, it was in fits and starts, but then in 2016, the floodgates opened. And, obviously that was related to Trump. And, he was like cribbing speeches from Richard Trumka, the president of the AFL-CIO in 2016, and so if you listen to those speeches, then of course you're going to hear all the crazy stuff, the xenophobic stuff and all the hate, but you're also going to hear a lot of stuff that, any like union organizer would probably find to be like right on in terms of.
It's almost like the messaging is the only important thing happen. That maybe it's just, who could have seen this coming? It's messaging. Oh my God.
The way that both parties have just completely ignored working people. And, that really touched a chord.
What do you mean both? The Republican Party wants to cut SNAP. They have cut Medicare and Medicaid. What do you mean? Like, dude, Trump has literally destroyed the fucking Democratic brain, dude. These people they've lost the plot. It's like this guy clearly cannot cope with the change in the political messaging and the political realm. He clearly just doesn't get it, because he's describing things like the year is 2006. Like he's pretending we live in a land of policy. We don't care about policy anymore. We care about vibes. We care about messaging. That's it. Zoran isn't winning on policy, okay? He's winning on policy only because his messaging is really good, not because his policy is incredible. Like there's a world in which people see his policy and dislike it. Like if so, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. It's just stupid.
And it set off de-alignment to a much greater extent in 2016, starting with primarily white working class folks, but then, you know, it moved toward the Latinos and some black men in 2020, and then to a much greater extent, you know, like half of Latinos roughly voted for Trump in 2024 and a quarter of African-American men. So now this is
What is this bullshit? All right, real quick, let's watch John Fetterman. John Fetterman is okay with Trump and his supporters calling Democrats communists, leftists, horrible people, and going after retribution and revenge, but he condemns Kamala Harris and anyone who calls Trump a fascist. I hate him. I hate him so much.
I don't know why, and I've always refused to say that. And when then the Vice President Harris referred to President Trump as a fascist, and I knew absolutely we lost the plot at that point. You know, if you call the president or someone like a fascist, you're effectively calling the people that are going to vote for him, and then they must be fascists too, or they support fascism and those things, and that's just not true. That's just not it. I happen to.
What do you? God, he's so stupid. This guy needs to get the fuck out of office. Okay, he's cooked. He's cooked. This is not the type of Democrat we need. This guy's. Get him out. I don't want to. Oh God, why do we have to vote for these types of people? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we put these types of Fetterman's stroke really put him off the deep end, dude. It really put him off the fucking deep end.
No, and I love a lot of people that voted for the president, and they're not fascists, they're not Nazis, they're not trying to destroy the Constitution and all those things.
Dude, Republican messaging has broken this man's brain. Like, what happened to people? What happened to people, like, understanding nuance and, like, just, like, being generally intelligent, like, thinking through something? Like, can he not think through anything? Like, oh, this man's, what's the term, unk? This is an unk right here, dog. This is a guy who lived through the 1990s, like, early 2000s. Like, the Republican Party has been shitting on Democrats, calling them communists and evil and fascist forever. And this guy's like, oh, we can't call them fascists, even though they're literally oh, God, I feel like politics is so stupid. Politics is, ooh, I hate politics. I hate politics so much. I hate it so much. It's so stupid, dude. It's so blatantly dumb.
They just happen to have a different priorities, and they love our country in the same ways that Democrats do as well. So I refuse to do those kinds of a thing, because that kind of extreme kinds of rhetoric makes it easier for those kinds of extreme kinds of actions, even like what happened to poor Charlie Kirk and that.
Oh, okay. The messaging makes it okay. So what? Oh, wait. The messaging. He's acknowledging it. He's like, yeah, the messaging is bad. That's what happened to Charlie Kirk. Yeah, Charlie Kirk's messaging got him shot, dog. Like, Charlie Kirk didn't die, like, for no reason. He died because he was insane. He died because his insane rhetoric made other people insane, and then they killed him. Like Charlie Kirk's death is his own fault, literally. Like, it's his fault. Like, like, every Republican who mourns Charlie Kirk, who voted for Donald Trump in 2016, who voted for Donald Trump in 2020, who voted for Donald Trump in 2024, it's literally their fault. It is their fault that he's dead. Like they're like, oh, the Democrats are evil. I'm like, bitch, it's your fault he's dead. What's wrong with you? Are you this stupid?
And now why you can't allow people to grieve and now use that an opportunity to criticize or to turn it into something. It's like, it's just basic humanity there. And like, we're forgetting that we need each other. We need each other.
Can you turn around and fucking talk to Donald Trump about this, though? What are you doing? You insane dude.
Here. And now I refuse to be a part of it and comparing people to Hitler and those things, because that's...
How dare you make it? Listen, Hitler did something, and then Donald Trump does that thing. Are you not allowed to point that out? Are you not allowed to point out that Hitler did something that Donald Trump also did? What's wrong with that? Is that bad? I feel like that should be pretty fair, right? Like, you would want to be able to point out, hey, isn't it interesting that Donald Trump is doing something that Hitler's doing? And it seems to be a repeating thing where Hitler does the thing, Donald Trump does the thing, Hitler does the thing, Donald Trump, like, I guess that just doesn't matter. Like, what do we...
if that's what's required to win, then I refuse to.
All right, well, we're back. Damn. All right, the stream died, but we're back.
Was their permanent majority.
So I want to push on a couple pieces of this story that I always think are complicated.
Hold up, wait. Let me make sure. Why did that happen? It's every once in a while, OBS just disconnects. Is it? Yeah, it just restarted. Damn. Why does this happen? Am I still streaming on? Yeah, I'm back on everything. Okay, weird.
So politics is always a choice, right? Democrats didn't just lose working class voters. They went somewhere, right? Sure. They went to Republicans. This whole period, Democrats are still the party that wants to raise taxes on rich people. Republicans still the party that wants to cut them. Democrats are still the party trying to create universal health care and under Obama get a hell of a lot closer than we've ever been before. Republicans still the party trying to repeal that, trying to cut Medicaid, which they just did in the big, beautiful bill. Republicans are voting for these trade bills, right? George W. Bush is very pro-free trade. Republicans have proposed a lot of these bills. Republicans vote for NAFTA in the House and Senate in very, very high numbers. There is this story that I hear. The Democrats abandoned all of these economic policies. Biden is, I think, probably the most left president on economics of my lifetime. Yeah. More aggressive on antitrust than, any other president since I was born, on labor issues, on everything. Yeah. It is hard for me to tell the story where working class voters are deciding on economic issues. They want a more populist pro-worker party, and the party supporting unions, trying to tax rich people, trying to expand healthcare benefits, trying to protect Social Security, trying to protect Medicare, right? All the things we know, is hemorrhaging them year after year to the party doing the reverse on all those things. How do you make...
Because the messaging! Dude, it's so stupid. It's just messaging. Every time, it's just messaging. Why are we intellectualizing like the most simple, most obvious thing? The messaging sucks. And Republican messaging is better. That's it. It's clearly not policy. Because if it was policy, Democrats would always win and Republicans would always lose.
That add up.
Yeah, there's a couple things. One is the nature of our two-party system. And if you're really pissed off with the party you've been voting for a long time, I guess you could vote for Jill Stein or whatever, the libertarians, but, the vast majority of people are just going to go to the other side. And, if they were in a parliamentary system or a multi-party system, maybe that, they would go somewhere else. But in this case, a protest vote against the Democrats is a vote for Republicans. And so I think that's a part of the story. But I think the much more important part of the story is that economic grievances get picked up on by conservatives. And, the way that these economic grievances get, transformed into, politics is often through culture, right? Like it was, economic elites versus the working class, but then they're able to sort of transform it into, it's the liberals and it's the cultural elites against the working class. And it's basically the same kind of grievance and it's touching on the same underlying issues, but it gets transmuted into cultural grievances. And that's very much facilitated by the Democratic Party by, not doing very much to try to actually relate to and be, culturally competent in the way that they talk and think about working class people. And, they are, basically increasingly a party during this period of higher income people, of well-educated people. And, we have I'm sure you've probably played the Schumer clip about the Western Pennsylvania.
For every blue-collar Democrat we will lose in Western PA, we will pick up 2, 3 moderate Republicans in the suburbs of Philadelphia. And you can repeat that in Ohio and Illinois and Wisconsin.
This is 20. Why did this look so horrible? This is 2016? What happened to like camera quality though? Like, I feel like cameras looked better than this in 2016. Why is this so bad?
You know, like that kind of stuff adds up. And, you know, Clinton saying the basket of deplorables, of course, the context was like more complicated, whatever, but that was the soundbite and she said it. And all the major media.
Yeah, and she was correct, right? Like, she was correct.
Institutions and academic institutions of the country used to be kind of nonpartisan. There's a great book by Grossman and Hopkins about this, about the diploma divide and sort of showing the ways in which media and culture, you know, came to be completely dominated by progressives. And a lot of working class people just felt really alienated by that. And
no, they haven't actually felt alienated by that. The Republican messaging against it is just highly effective. Oh my God. I'm not watching this guy is actually so dumb. All right, what are the comments saying on this? Does anyone agree with me? Well, we have veterans. How can we manipulate? Dude, wait. That's Oh my God, dude. This guy's like, we have generally held beliefs that the veterans is like how we. You message on it. That's what the Republican Party does. Are you retarded? I don't want to watch the rest of this. What is this? Trump has religion. What do the Democrats have? All right, let's watch some more deeply painful intellectual Democratic messaging. Okay.
Hi, I'm Robert Siegel, now a contributor to Times Opinion, and I'm in conversation with two old friends, both of the New York Times, columnist David Brooks. How are you? And contributing opinion writer E.J. Dionne.
Great to be with you always.
Okay, what are the chances that they discuss Zoran. The only correct take here is going to be that Zoran's policy could be bad, but his messaging is good. That is what should be said here, because that is what's happening. It doesn't matter if people like his messaging, or it doesn't matter if people like his policy. It's about the way he messages it.
Once again, we're together to talk about politics, and there's no shortage of things to talk about. Last month, we started off with the question of authoritarianism. Do all the various claims of new presidential powers amount to a loss of fundamental liberties? Well, it seems that several million Americans think so. They turned out all around the country to protest against kings. So let's start there. EJ, what did you make of the No Kings protest? What did you see in it, and what did you make of the reactions to it?
Well, you know, I went down to the one here in D.C., and what I saw was patriotism. The symbol that was most on offer everywhere along the march route was the American flag. There was even one part of the march, there were a bunch of people who respectfully held out a very large American flag, and little kids were running underneath the flag because there were a lot of kids there with their parents. It was a very, if I may say so, of a march in D.C., a middle American march, and I think you saw that in a lot of parts of the country. And I think it put to light as something that I found really disturbing from Speaker Mike Johnson and others on the Republican side said this. They referred to it as the Hate America rally. It couldn't have been more different than that. And I think since we are on authoritarian watch here, I think it was such a disturbing thing for him to say, because if you are opposed to his party or opposed to his president, a president he supports, that means you hate America. And one party, one leader, one country is something that our soldiers fought against in many wars. That's not a conception of Americanism. And I think a lot of those people who were marching were very aware of the acceleration of the move toward authoritarianism. You think of the prosecution, the indictments of James Comey, Letitia James, John Bolton, the first two utterly without reason except that the president hates them. And so I think the people at this march weren't ideological. They were just deeply concerned about the direction of the country.
Well, David, you've called for a national movement, you say, is what we need. First in a column back in the spring, and most recently in a longer piece in the Atlantic. Was the No Kings movement the movement you had in mind? Does it fit the bill?
It's getting there. It's weird for me. I'm not a movement guy. I'm more conservative than not. And now I find myself like reading Saul Alinsky and all these lefties, and I'm going, yeah, power to the people. So I'm going total revolutionary here.
It's about time, David.
And what I liked about the No Kings rallies was just what EJ mentioned, that people like me, who are kind of center-right, would feel completely at home there. If it starts looking like Occupy Wall Street, then I think, oh, good for you people, but, it's not for me. I'm hanging around Occupy and...
Okay, they're saying it. They're not saying it, but they're saying it. They're kind of dancing around it. But yeah, what they're describing is the messaging, like the concept of like Occupy Wall Street. The messaging on it wasn't great, but like the concept was there. No Kings, the messaging is a lot better. It's a lot simpler. It's no kings. We don't want the authoritarianism. They're pointing to it, easy peasy. People can understand it. They may not like it, but it's easy to comprehend. It's just messaging. That's all it is. Occupy Wall Street, nobody really knows what that kind of means. Like Occupy Wall Street, we don't like the people. That's about all there was. It wasn't as good. That's all it is. It's just messaging. I don't know. Politics has gotten so dumb, dude. Can't we have an argument about like tax rates or something? Can't we like argue about tax rates and be like, oh look, over here this tax rate does this to the economy and these people do this and that, like something actually intellectual, but instead we have to spend all our time talking about messaging.
My hair starts falling out. But around No Kings, I just feel it's pro-American. It's basically in line with the cultural DNA of this country. And so I'm very impressed by it. I think a couple reservations I would have that I think, not criticisms, but things that are not yet there. If you look back at social movements that have succeeded, they're decentralized, they happen all over, but there are always central collaborating committees. You look at the civil rights movement, they had the NAACP, all these acronyms of all these organizations who are leading. Second, I do think you need leaders. And I think sometimes, like Occupy, people were averse to having one person at the top. But without that, you can't control your message. You can't really conduct a strategy. The civil rights movement conducted a soap opera every day. They told a story every day about segregation. And through that repeated storytelling, you really built the movement. And you made the segregators, you gave them an unwinnable proposition. When you control the streets, either they cede the streets to you or they crack down on you and look like monsters. And that's a way to achieve civic power. The final thing that I think No Kings is so far not making is a vision. Donald Trump has a vision. Trump is a culture. He has a core story, the elites have betrayed you. But he doesn't only have that story. He has a culture of MAGA, a culture of what a man looks like, what a woman looks like. He has a religion, basically. If you looked at the Charlie Kirk memorial service, he gives you identity. He gives you belonging. It takes a counterculture to best the culture that Donald Trump is leading. And so far, the Democrats don't have that. They have a bunch of tax credits. And so far...
Okay. They're acknowledging it. They're not saying it, but they're acknowledging it, it's the messaging. That's it. It's just the messaging is better. That's all it is.
The No Kings movement doesn't have that.
EJ?
You know, there was a lot of stuff in your piece I appreciate. I particularly like the line where you said Trumpism is seeking to amputate the higher elements of the human spirit, learning, compassion, science, and the pursuit of justice, and supplant those virtues with greed, retribution, ego, and appetite. And there's some very good stuff here. But I'll tell you where I take issue with you. You talked about a miasma of passivity seems to have swept over the anti-Trump ranks. I don't think that's true at all. I think that you've seen this movement grow. I think that what is making things difficult is in our history, I think it's fair to say that we have never confronted a government that was willing to break the law as freely, not just break norms, which they haven't cared about for a long time, but break the law as freely. We haven't seen a situation where all of the institutions of government are behaving in a partisan way. The Congress is behaving in a partisan way, and I think on many of these cases, most so far, the Supreme Court is behaving in a partisan way. So people are trying to find purchase here. Where we probably agree is on this need for a strong movement across the country. I read a very good book this week by Suzanne Mettler and Trevor Brown called Rural versus Urban. I think that you need to revisit organizing all the way down in the country, and you need to put pressure on Republicans because until some of the Republicans who clearly know better are willing to say so, it's going to be very hard to break this power that Trump is.
Except the thing that is as long as Trump has his MAGA base, the Republican Party is going to be too scared to do anything because he will fucking just primary them. Like, that's the thing that we're not, like, are we just not going to talk about that? Is like, it's not just Republicans, like, they're being cowards, but they're being cowards for a reason. And it's because Trump is politically powerful, which is to say, he will fuck your shit up. Like, there's a reason that everyone who is in the House, these are all MAGA people, because everyone else has been voted out. They've all been all the rhinos. They've all been like Dick Cheney wouldn't fit in this party. Like, well, actually, maybe he would. I don't know. But like, just fix your messaging. Just fix your message. You don't need a Joe Rogan to the left. You don't need fucking economic populism. You just need good ass messaging.
Is amassing.
Well, he has the core story that people believe in. The elites have betrayed you. The passivity I was talking about was not so much at the bottom, though I do think it's there. It's at the top.
And there I agree
and
with
they're
you.
like the head of the companies, the head of universities, the head of law firms. They're just laying low. And it's part because they're intimidated. In part just because of a collective action problem. Who's going to step out first? And I had a friend, a business leader, who went to Europe, and he said, you know, we've lost faith in the United States forever. And I said, like, it's Taylor Swift, like we are never getting back together. And the European said something interesting to me. It's not because you elected Trump. We all have Trumps in our country. So any country could do that. It's because you didn't rise up. And so he's looking at his business leaders and he's seeing them say something in private about how awful things are going, and then in public speaking a very different language. And you can measure the amount of authoritarianism in a country by how high the price is to oppose. And right now,
totally agree about a lot of business leaders, but let's look at some real pushback. Some law firms went over to Trump, but a whole lot of law firms said, we're not going there. They went after Jimmy Kimmel, and a whole lot of people protested, and Jimmy Kimmel was put back on the air. A lot of universities are saying no to what Trump is doing. So I totally agree with you that
yeah, pushback's based. We should be pushing. Big push. You ever want to do a big push? You get a big old push going.
I want more pushback from people at the very top of the economy, but I think you're seeing seeds of revolt that are very useful.
But let me ask you both this. David, your article made me think back to the civil rights movement and my extremely minute role as a one-time member of the Stuyvesant High School Friends of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating
God
Committee.
bless you.
Yes, and the civil rights movement achieved a major Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, a constitutional amendment against
What do we think the chances are that the VRA gets fucking overturned? Pretty high? It's pretty high, right? Because they've already struck down what, like Section 2 and 4, I think, in the past like 20 years. Who needs the VRA? We can just be racist. Oh, damn it.
Poll taxes. I don't even know, after the restoration of the Medicaid tax break, I don't know what the agenda of the No Kings movement is. I assume they can't enact it now, but I don't even know what would be on the wish list.
Yeah, I think that's the wrong way to think about it, with all due respect to my
Based?
friend from...
Wait,
I went to
based?
Stuyvesant Town, you went to Stuyvesant High School, that shows you're smarter. But I don't think the anti-Trump forces understand the nature of the fight, which is that Trumpism didn't emerge overnight. It started back in some ways the 19th century with Know Nothing, but it really started with people like Sam Francis, who may be unfamiliar names, to Christopher Lasch, his book, The Revolt of the Elites. There was a big intellectual movement. And Trump just picked up everything Christopher Lasch wrote in that book in 1995. And so what you need is a whole movement and a vision. And it has to be intellectual first. What I think Democrats need to do is understand.
If he doesn't talk about messaging, I'm stopping the video, and we're gonna go find something actually good to watch, because so far they're doing pretty decent. But let's see if the old boys can figure out that messaging is what needs to change.
And that they can't go back to their narratives, their core narratives.
Okay,
Democrats have had some great
based?
narratives. The New Deal, we're going to soften
Based?
capitalism and make it more humane. In the 1960s, we're going to take people who have been marginalized and we're going to give them respect. Those are great narratives, but they're not narratives right now. The final thing I'd say is there's a Bulgarian political scientist who made the observation that once the revolution happened, everybody changes. So it's not just the Republican Party. He makes the point that the Democratic Party is going to change just as much as the Republican Party. And then he makes the point, once the revolution happens, you can't go back to who you were. And he phrases it this way: you can have Kerensky before Lenin, but you can't have Kerensky after Lenin. And Kerensky, for those who didn't go to City College in the 1930s, was a sort of a Democrat before the Russian Revolution.
I play Hearts of Iron 4. I know who Kerensky is. He does a lot of dying in my video games, unfortunately. Rest in peace, Big Kerensky, the eternal dictator.
Lenin comes along and creates the revolution. You're not going to go back to the moderate Kerensky. And so I just emphasize how radically different people have to think.
You could go back to Kerensky. He would just need to change his messaging, not his policies. His policies could stay about the same, probably. Not that I'm fully aware of what they were. There's probably some hyper nuance there, but like, you could go from anywhere to, you can go from, like, we went from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. Okay, we did the thing that they're describing didn't happen or can't happen, literally happened. Like, and yeah, you could say there are extenuating circumstances with COVID and Trump being like uniquely stupid, but I think it's just messaging. Every time they're maybe over intellectualizing it, but yeah, they're technically saying the right thing
about where we're going to be in 5 years.
Well, on that note, let's turn to the races that are on the ballot in November. The odd-numbered year after the presidential election always draws our attention to New Jersey and Virginia, which elect a governor in that year, and of course New York City, which elects a mayor in that year. And this year, there's a special interest in California, a referendum on congressional redistricting. David, which of these races do you find especially interesting?
I'm going to go to where EJ wants to go because I am a good friend, Mamdani. And so I'm profoundly impressed by how much the Democrats want to be the party of rich people. If you looked at how Mamdani did against Cuomo in the primary, Cuomo did very well among working class voters. And Mamdani did very well among workers making $200,000 a year, whatever. And he is a perfect candidate for educated elites. His dad was a professor. His mom's a filmmaker. Nothing wrong with that. My dad was a professor. And he has the cultural values and the progressive politics that go over well in Prospect Heights or in Park Slope. These are neighborhoods in New York. And would go over well in Santa Monica, would go over well in various affluent places. But to me, the core problem for the Democrats is they need to win the working class back.
Okay, yeah.
And if he's their face, which he's about to be, I just think that's a setback to the core problem for the Democratic Party.
But isn't he running against the high cost of living? No one can afford an apartment, that the right things are going. And
yeah, but he's doing things that I think are outside the mainstream. Our colleagues on the editorial page.
Yes, but they're working. They're popular. They are popular in New York. Why are they popular in New York? Because his messaging on those policies is very good.
produced a data-strewn editorial, and it was basically about something called the centrist voter theory.
Okay, I'm going to keep playing
You
this,
run to the
but I wanna
center,
find...
and you win by running to the center. And that may not be true in New York, because New York has a lot of rich progressives, but it's generally true. And so running to the center is probably a smart thing to do. Does Mamdani, are his ideas, do they appeal to me? No, I don't think government knows how to run a grocery store. New York already has a lot of great family grocery stores. So that's one of the beauties of New York. There are bodegas everywhere. And so his ideas, I think they sound good if you haven't lived through socialism, but socialism is still socialism.
You know, I find it amazing, David, that you're saying that the richest people in New York support Mamdani. I wish I could do a really good Bernie, but the millionaires and the billionaires are all supporting Andrew Cuomo over Mamdani. I looked at the great map the New York Times had of the primary. Every precinct facing Central Park, except one little one way up in the corner in the north.
I didn't say the millionaires
corner.
and billionaires. I said 200,000. That's his sweet spot.
No, it's sort of 50 to 200,000. And I think that what's interesting about Mamdani, two things. One, let's celebrate the paperback of your book, your new book, How to Know a Person. And Mamdani acts like he read your book. How did he start his campaign? He went to the Bronx when he was at 1% in the polls and went to precincts where Donald Trump did well or better than a Republican had done in a long time. And he asked people, why did you vote for Trump, or why didn't you not vote at all? What did they tell him? They said they were worried about the cost of living. How did he orient his campaign? You can argue with this or that proposal, but the entire campaign has been oriented around not culturally.
Oh, God. What's happened? Look at this. Okay, let's see. Zoran through tears. My aunt stopped talking about the subway after 9/11 because she asked if they had her hijab. Yes, she was the real victim of 9/11.
To speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Is it not? What? This is awful. This is so. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. How? I despise politics. I hate this so much because it's so like imagine not understanding what's being said here. Yeah, she was the real victim. Like, no, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about what happened after 9/11. Because guess what? Things happened after 9/11. 9/11 wasn't just bad for the people who died in the two towers and on the planes and in the Pentagon and in the one plane that crashed out in the field. Like, oh God, it's so stupid. Like, oh God. Like, people, can they not comprehend just like time moving forward? Like, after 9/11, anti-Muslim sentiment went up a bunch, right? Like, so yeah, like it's not about real victim, fake victim. It's a different type of thing. He's describing something that happened to a lot of people, and this idiot over here is like, this drooling retard is like, 9/11 was only bad for the people in the planes and the towers. Nothing else bad happened. And he's just like drooling everywhere. Like, it's all right. And then here comes the exciting part. Here comes Vice President J.D. Vance with his hot take. According to Zoran, the real victim of 9/11 was his auntie, who got some allegedly bad luck. Oh, dude, how is our vice president this stupid? I'm going to quote tweet this. How the fuck is our VP so incapable of nuance? Okay, whatever. Let's continue.
issues. He's a cultural progressive, but that's not what he talks about. He talks about the high cost of housing. He talks about the high cost of childcare, the high cost of groceries, the high cost of transportation. He has run an economically based campaign to say New York should be affordable to everybody. And I wrote a column in the Times saying that he was.
All right, we've got a Fox News tweet. Sorry, I'm just going to keep going back and forth here because this video is it's a little stupid. All they have to do is say yes, and then it's over. President Trump says he will help make Obamacare better and negotiate with Democrats only after they agree to reopen the government. He does. Is he this stupid? I mean, obviously he's this stupid, but like, you're the governing party, dog. Your job is to negotiate. You don't get to just say whatever you want. You have to negotiate. Like, if you want the government to reopen, you have to negotiate with them. You can't just be like, do it my way or no. Like, okay, the Democrats will just keep it closed. We'll just close the government. People will starve. Like, okay, it's your fault.
I would. I'd be willing to. I would have now, too. You know, I left. I said, come on over. Just put the government back. All they have to do is say yes, and then it's over. Then we start. And then we go into a negotiation.
You have to agree to all my demands, and then we'll negotiate. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. True. I stand by this. A shutdown falls on the president's lack of leadership. I mean, problems start from the top, and they have to get solved from the top. A shutdown means the president is weak. Honestly, based king. Lights, camera, bullshit. Hell yeah. I love our liberal cringe.
As a sewer socialist, which to many people might sound like I'm running him down, but I was actually building him up, because the kinds of socialists who have succeeded in American history, there was a big movement for municipal socialism. Dan Hoan was mayor of Milwaukee for 24 years as a socialist. They focused on fixing problems, fixing the sewers, which are making people sick in working class neighborhoods. Bernie Sanders, who was a mayor, talked about making sure the snow was picked up in working class neighborhoods. So it's snow.
Guys, look. Corruption. Look. Donald Trump Jr. God, he looks more like Donald Trump every day. Freaky motherfucker, dude. Like, owns a drone company, and then the U.S. Army just happens to contract that drone company. Oh, it seems a little interesting. Seems a little sus. I don't want to hear. Literally, the Republicans have no legs to stand on any issue ever for the rest of time. It's the Republican Party is so blatantly evil and stupid on every evil. They're evil in the sense that like they're just pure hypocrites on everything. It's painful. It's painfully stupid. Strasser, welcome. How you doing? I hope you're having a good one. I'm sorry. I'm just shitting on Donald Trump. You may not enjoy this.
Socialism to sewer socialism. So I think he is very grounded and down to earth, and he is running in an odd way a campaign that's quite related to that New York Times editorial that you referenced, even though its underlying message was rather different from Mamdani's.
Look, I love pragmatic leaders. Mike Bloomberg, he was my version. I think New York worked a lot better after Mike Bloomberg. There was a guy in New York, maybe or in Detroit, you can help me, Duggan, I think was his name, Mayor Duggan, and he was like the least charismatic guy on earth. But he said, if you want your streetlights to work, I'm your guy. He was like just a boring administrator. I love those guys. And so if Mamdani was like that, I'd be all for it. And I should say he's a great campaigner. He's one of the more interesting people in American politics right now. So I don't
he sees it. He doesn't really recognize it. He's not attuned to the new way politics is functioning, but he recognizes it. He's like, Mamdani is a great communicator. That's it. That's the key right there. He's an incredible, Zoran is a Obama level communicator. Like, he's top tier. And the messaging is incredible. That's it. Like if Zoran ran for president, I would say it's not a 0% chance that he would win purely on his messaging. Like if Obama can win, Zoran can win. It's your fault for this. It's my fault for me individually. I'm shutting down the government. I've got my finger on the button. I could turn the government back on right now, Strasser, but I'm not going to, because I have Donald Trump syndrome, which means I hate him because he's stupid. He's a small little baby man. And I don't like him. And because of that, listen, I get it. You like a weak man. You love weak men with stinky faces and ugly, ugly chests. Hey, you like stupid people. That's okay.
Don't take that away from him. But he is an ideological person. There's a reason he's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, which has gone further left. So a lot of the people I liked who were in the DSA have all quit.
What does that mean? How has it gone further left? Like, in what way? Like, what has gone further left? I feel like the Democratic Socialists probably, like, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like the DSA probably hasn't changed much. But also, I have never really paid attention to the policies they support, so. What? Shut up, he's gonna save the country? Listen, you're just a sore loser. What can I say? Like, it's not my fault Donald Trump's a cuck. Like, it's Trump's fault.
And then the final thing to be said is he's got to explain why New York is so unaffordable. Houston doesn't have this problem.
What do you mean he clearly doesn't have to explain it. He clearly doesn't, because he's leading in all the polls and he hasn't explained it yet. Like, what do you mean he has to explain it? He doesn't need to. The messaging that he's doing does not require him to talk about that.
If you look at where people are moving, almost every fast-growing state is
when
a
he lowers your
Republican
taxes
state with low.
Why would I don't want him to lower my taxes. I don't need him to lower my taxes. Like, why would I do that? Like, we have a ballooning deficit. The government needs more money. He should be raising taxes. If Donald Trump not raising taxes is a guaranteed 100% proof point that he is a liar, that he does not actually care about the deficit in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, he would raise taxes, because you have to increase your income into the government or cut spending. Those are the only two things you can do. And if he's not doing either of those things, then he clearly does not care.
Low taxes and low housing regulations. And so people are moving to Tennessee, to Texas, to Florida, to South Carolina, because they create a positive business climate. New York has spent all of our lifetimes, and I grew up there like you. We were in the same housing project. Has had rent control. It's had horrible zoning regulations. It's just super hard to build. And therefore, I think the vacancy rate in New York apartments is like -0.
Donald Trump is very smart about economics. Listen, just because you're too stupid to understand economics doesn't mean that you get to just say whatever you want, right? Like, you can say whatever you want, but, like, don't expect anyone to treat you like a normal, intelligent human being if you're going to be retarded, right? Like you want to treat everyone the same, but, like, you kind of have to treat different people differently, right? Like, somebody who is maybe mentally a little bit slower, you're going to have to slow down for them. You might have to use smaller words. Like, it's like talking to a child. Like, children simply don't have the comprehension to have some of the in-depth conversations that, like, normal adults can have. Like, that is how you must treat Republicans, right? Like, just baby people.
And so there's just not enough housing. And then finally, this is something I think about all the time. I love a book called The Death and Life of Great American Cities by Jane Jacobs.
Jane Jacobs, yes.
And I grew up, and we were all told she was a hero. She saved the West Village. And that guy, Robert Moses, who was putting in all these highways, he was the villain. But now it's looking like Jane Jacobs taught everybody, if you sue the government, you can stop them from doing anything. And so
this is to block the Lower Manhattan Expressway
from going through.
Yes.
And so suddenly the story looks a little more complicated because we've had 50 years of blocking all development. And this is the point our colleague Ezra Klein makes and Derek Thompson in their book Abundance, a book Yoni Applebaum named Stuck. And so the abundance movement is an effort to get some of the zoning regulations reduced, not out of some Reaganite policy, but just because we need to be able to build things anymore. And I have my doubt that somebody that ideological is going to reduce the grip that government has on the housing market.
Do you know what's ironic is that Mamdani actually did an interview with Derek Thompson where he endorsed some of the core principles of abundance and argued that you judge a government by whether it can deliver, and that he thinks that abundance raises questions that people who want government to work and want government to work on behalf of working people need to address.
Okay, I have one other question about Election Day coming up. Just one, which is about the California referendum. My question to each of you is gerrymandering okay if the other guy did it first?
Well, I think
yes.
The answer is, I guess, the logic of what I'm going to say is yes.
Yes. Yes. If somebody pulls a knife out and you don't pull a knife out, you're just at a disadvantage. You're just going to lose. And it's because you didn't pull your knife out. That's your own fault. So, yeah, if someone else pulls a knife out, you got to pull a knife out. Duh.
Give you the answer straight up and then get there. I am like a lot of people who are for the commissions like the one California cast. I think
and you're
it
against
would be
politicians
better,
selecting their voters rather than
voters
selecting their politicians.
And so if you had a commission system or some sort of nonpartisan plan of making districts in every state of the country, that would be great. That's what I'm for. In the absence of that, when one party on the order of the president or the request of the president goes and redraws its district lines in Texas, we're talking about, to say, we're going to arbitrarily create 5 more congressional districts. And then other states start following and say, well, we'll create more Republican districts. Then the other side can either say, gee, this is terrible, but we're still for commissions, or they can do what the Democrats and Gavin Newsom did in California, which is say, we're still for commissions, but we're going to draw lines to offset those 5 so we have a fighting chance in the election. And, Barack Obama, who is somebody who's been fighting partisan redistricting, is one of the most effective advocates out for Prop 50 in California, precisely because he liked nonpartisan redistricting, but in this circumstance, he regards it as an emergency.
Based.
There was an essay written by Daniel Patrick Moynihan years ago called I'm hitting all your sweet spots, called Defining Deviancy Down.
Yes.
And so this is what it looks like, that Donald Trump defines deviancy down. We're redistricting, we're going to pick our voters, and then Gavin Newsom matches them. And the people who should be offended, by the way, are the voters of California and Texas. You are basically, if you live in those 2 states, you are basically being disenfranchised because you will be living in a district where the election outcome is predetermined. And so there should be outrage about this. People fought for their vote, to have the right to vote, and now people don't care. And to me, the worst example of
Okay. Listen, I will hold up. Give me 30 seconds. I need pee. hello. I'm back. Sorry. I had to pee. You know what I want to do real quick? Let's take a break from the videos, okay? Let's see. Let's just see, is there any fun news articles? Oh, good lord. Oh, we've got some real stupid stuff. Hold up, wait. What is this? Here we go. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Donald Trump is threatening Canada with more of an import tax because he didn't like the ad they ran. Oh god, he's so at least they're using like cringe photos where he looks pretty bad, right? Like that's good. There's a positive here. All right. Aboard Air Force One, President Donald Trump said on Saturday that he plans to hike tariffs on imports of Canadian goods by an extra 10% because of an anti-tariff television ad aired by the province of Ontario. You imagine if Carney did the same thing? Could you imagine if one of the Trump ads about like how he wants to annex Canada and make it the 51st state or whatever, and he's like, we don't like it, we're doing tariffs. Like, you imagine how pissed he would be about that? You imagine? But then when he does it, it's like, oh no, you can't be mean. Scoot my chair over. It's cringe because it's like obvious how stupid it is. Okay. The ad used the words of former President Ronald Reagan to criticize U.S. tariffs, angering Trump, who said he would end trade talks with Canada. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said he would pull the ad after the weekend, and it ran Friday night during the first game of the World Series. Their advertisement was to be taken down immediately, but they let it run last night during the World Series, knowing that it was a fraud? What? You know he's wrong when he just like he does this all the time where it's like, oh, it's just fraud. It's just like there's always like this post hoc justification for everything where like Trump will just say something stupid and then like the Republican messaging, everyone else then has to like scramble and they make up all the fake lies that then go back. Like it's this constant like disgusting feedback loop of like Trump says something and then all the Republican candidates and all the Republican senators and all the Republican alternative media and mainstream media people justify it. And then you deal with up these like things where it's like it's just this awful insidious loop of just like everyone just like gets on board with the stupidest things he says that like blatantly aren't true. And if you were like a normal Republican, you like if the Republican Party weren't such cowards, Donald Trump would be nowhere near power. But like they just let him lie, and then they justify his lies after he lies. Like Because of their serious misrepresentation of the facts and hostile act, I am increasing the tariff on Canada by 10% over and above what they're paying now. It was not immediately clear when the 10% hike would come into effect, nor whether it would apply to all Canadian goods. Canada's economy has been hit hard by Trump's tariffs, and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has been trying to work with Trump to lower them. More than 3/4 of Canadian exports go to the US, and nearly 3.6 billion Canadian, which is 2.7 billion worth of US worth of goods and services cross the border daily. News alert, 2 very good news items. Trump increases customs and Trump will soon invade the horrible, oh my god. What happened to Trump being the like pro-peace candidate? Wasn't that exactly, that's literally what he ran on. Like you're fucked if you believe that. Like your brain is just so cooked. Many Canadian products have been hit with a 35% tariff, while steel and aluminum face rates of 50%. Energy products have a lower rate of 10%, while other goods covered by the US-Canada-Mexico agreement are exempt. That trade agreement is slated for review. Remember who made that agreement? Donald Trump. Donald Trump literally hates his own stuff. Like, he celebrates it, and then the moment it's convenient, he's like, I hate it. It's bad. It's evil. Like, it's so stupid. I don't care. Do you think I care? I don't care. The Nobel Peace Prize, okay, whatever. Of course she'll say, of course she said that. Like, she said that, and then in that was like, please, Donald Trump, help us. Like if you cannot pay attention and realize that, like, that's her trying to influence him to help her goals, like you're watching people manipulate Trump, and then you're like, see, Trump is right. Like, it's so dumb, dude. It's so stupid. Oh, God. Okay. Trump negotiated the deal in his first term, but has since soured on it. Oh, wow, really? Trump and Carney will both attend the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit in Malaysia, but Trump told reporters traveling with him that he had no intentions of meeting Carney there. Trump said the ad misrepresented the position of Reagan, a two-term president and a beloved figure in the Republican Party. But Reagan was wary of tariffs and used much of the 1987 address featured in Ontario's ad, spelling out the case against tariff. You vote Kamala Harris and you say me, I am stupid, seriously? I mean, yeah. Duh. Like I have a 200 IQ. That's just what it is. Like I can't help that I'm smarter than you. It just is what it is. Like just cry and be retarded. Like, sorry. Trump has complained the ad was aimed at influencing the U.S. Supreme Court ahead of arguments scheduled for next month. Oh, dude, how dare other people try to influence anything? Only Trump is allowed to do influence. No one else is ever allowed to influence anything. Oh, dumb motherfucker. That could decide whether Trump has the power to impose his sweeping tariffs, a key part of his economic strategy. Stop talking. Can we not pretend he has an economic strategy? Can we not use this term because it's obviously not a strategy? All right, well, what else is there? Give you another one. Don't care. Kamala Harris leaves door open? Okay, give it to me, Queen. Are you going to run? Kamala Harris isn't ruling out another run for the White House. In an interview with the BBC posted Saturday, Harris said she expects a woman will be president in the coming years and it could possibly be her. I am not done, she said. The former vice president said she still hasn't decided whether to mount a 2028 presidential campaign, but she dismissed the suggestion that she'd face long odds. I don't think so. I think it could be long odds. It's just going to depend on her messaging. That's all it's going to be. It's going to be messaging and policy. Like, for me personally, I don't really care about messaging. Messaging is null and void. It's all policy. It's all like, give me the numbers, give me the tax rates, give me the all the things. You know, what's your healthcare plan? What's your trade policy? Like, all this stuff is stuff that I need. What's your foreign policy? Like, all these things are things I care about. But like, your average person is more on messaging, so I will have to be evaluating both, unfortunately. But you know, we are where we are. I say unfortunately, but realistically, that's politics. So that just is what it is. Okay. I have lived my entire career a life of service, and it's in my bones. And there are many ways to serve, and I've never listened to polls. Maybe, I don't actually know. I have the 107 Days book. I haven't read it yet. I need to read it still. She's recently given a series of interviews following the September release of her book, 107 Days. It looks back on her experience replacing the then president, Joe Biden, as the 2024 Democratic presidential nominee after he dropped out of the race, and she ultimately lost to Republican President Donald Trump. In an interview with the Associated Press last week, Harris, who is 60, made clear that running again in 2028 is still on the table. She said she sees herself as a leader of the party, including in pushing back against Trump and preparing for the 2026 midterms. Hop on the train then. Come on, Queen. Hop on the anti-Trump train. You need to be messaging all the time. What do we? Asked in October 17th interview with AP whether she had plans for a 2028 bid, Harris said, I haven't decided. Sincerely, I have not decided. I may or may not. I have not decided. Asked specifically whether she still wants to do the job itself, she used the past tense saying, it's a job that I wanted to do, but she noted that the only way to do it is to run and win. Meanwhile, political jockeying among Democrats for the 2028 presidential contest appears to be playing out even earlier than usual. I wonder how much, I feel like the stuff that's happening now with Democrats is probably going to be important to Democrats. I think if you're a Democratic voter, and once we see what the primary lineup is going to look like in 28, that'll be the thing that, like, okay, we're going to have to look at their records individually. Like, okay, how much did you push back against Trump? And that'll be important for Democrats, but it may not be, it's probably not going to be very important for anybody else unless public perception sways drastically against the Republican Party, which hopefully it will. Several potential candidates have already taken steps to know voters in key states, including California Governor Gavin Newsom, term-limited Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, and California Representative Ro Khanna. Upwards of 30 high-profile Democrats could ultimately enter the primaries. I mean, any one of them could do it. I'm like, as long as you're anti-Trump and you have good-ass policies and good-ass messaging, that's all you really need. What is this? Oh, I retweeted this earlier. As federal agents ramp up Chicago immigration crackdown, more elected officials caught in crosshairs. Hunya, I don't know how to pronounce that. Hunya, whatever, was going door to door informing businesses of ramped up immigration enforcement on Chicago's north side when the Democratic state lawmaker got an activist notification of federal agents nearby. He followed agents' vehicles and then honked to warn others when he was pulled over. Masked federal officers pointed a gun at him, and a staffer attempted to break his car window and took photos of their faces before issuing a warning, he recounted. We were nonviolent, Hunya said, of Tuesday's incident, part of which was captured on video. We identified ourselves as elected officials, and my hands were visible. Listen, ICE are cowards. They wear masks. These are betas. These are beta cucks. Like, come on. As the Trump administration intensifies an immigration crackdown across the nation's third largest city and its suburbs, elected officials in the Democratic stronghold have been increasingly caught in tense encounters with federal agents. Dude, we need ICE to be arrested. I need Chicago PD to arrest an ICE agent. It has to happen. Like, that's the thing that will ultimately determine what the future of ICE is going to look like. Is whether or not one of these areas departments, whether it be Chicago or one of the suburbs surrounding it, makes the actual decision. Like, yeah, we've got the big balls. We're gonna arrest an ICE agent if they fuck with us. Yeah. Okay. As Trump, members of the Chicago City Council and their staff, state legislators, and congressional candidates report being threatened, handcuffed, and detained in recent days. The tense political atmosphere comes as President Donald Trump has vowed to expand military deployments and jail Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson over immigration policies the Republican claims protect criminals. That is a lie, by the way. That's just not true. There's not, like, when Republicans say things like this that are obviously stupid, just don't be like, no, you're wrong, don't care, not the problem. It's all about push back on everything, and attack. You can't let them attack on anything. Just say nope and then move on, because it doesn't matter. Nothing they say matters. But Illinois Democrats deem the actions as scare tactics and a calculated acceleration. The clashes amid constant arrests of immigrants and protesters have emerged as top campaign issues in Illinois' March primary, where an unusually not high number of congressional seats are open. This is an escalation with the interest of creating fear and intimidation in my community and in all of Chicago, said Alderman Mike Rodriguez, whose ward includes heavy immigrant and Latino neighborhoods. During an enforcement operation Wednesday in the city's Mexican enclave of Little Village and adjacent suburbs of Cicero, at least 8 people, including 4 U.S. citizens, were detained, he said. 2 of those citizens work in his office, including Chief of Staff Elaine Behana, and were held for hours. Behana also served on an elected Police Accountability Council. Rodriguez says they did nothing wrong, but didn't offer exact details. Trump sent his goons to my neighborhood to intimidate, and in the process of helping people out, my staff got detained, he said Thursday, amid continued federal presence in Little Village. Among other things, agents deployed chemical agents and detained a 16-year-old activist, and elected officials said. Oh, God. Dude, we're literally jailing children. Like, how are you a Republican? You're like, yeah, I'm okay with the kids going to jail. How dare they protest? You can't protest my president. It's a child. Shut up. While the operation's focus has been concentrated in Latino neighborhoods and suburbs, federal agents have been spotted all over the city of 2.7 million and its many suburbs. Word of pedestrian and traffic stops outside schools, stores, courts, and an O'Hare International Airport parking lot used by rideshare drivers have triggered waves of frustration amid the city's active immigrant rights network and residents who follow vehicles, blow warning whistles, and take videos. It's good that we've got like a group organizing against it. It is base that we're doing that, because it needs to fucking happen. The Department of Homeland Security has defended its operations, including the detention of U.S. citizens, saying they are temporarily held for safety. The agency, which didn't answer questions about Rodriguez's staff, accused Hunya of stalking agents. Oh, dude, how dare you follow someone around, dude? How dare you follow a federal employee around? How dare you? How dare you try to hold people accountable? You monsters. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said agents had to assess if he was a threat. Oh no, the guy, he's got his camera out. Oh no, so scary. Dog, you have guns. You have guns. Stop it. Be normal. This behavior is unbecoming of a public servant and is just another example of sanctuary politicians putting our officers. Dude, they're such crybabies. They're such victims. Trump goes to Asia to meet Xi Jinping. Yeah, dude. Okay. I guess we're gonna what the 4 years that Trump spent trying to de-arm North Korea failed, and now he thinks he can do it again. Like, it's so stupid. Don't care. Also this week, City Council member Jesse Fuentes, dude, unfortunate last name, filed a federal tort claim seeking $100,000 in damages after agents grabbed and handcuffed her earlier this month at a hospital. She said she was checking in on a person who was injured while being pursued by immigration agents and asked for a signed judicial warrant on the person's behalf. She was handcuffed and let go outside the hospital. No, you don't do that. You don't do that. It's not even like, it's so unacceptable. It's like, no, that's unacceptable. It is indeed a frightening time when unidentified federal agents shove, grab, handcuff, and detain an elected official in the exercise of their duties, said Jan Solzer, Fuentes' attorney. Trump has put huge sanction on Russia and will force Xi Jinping to impose sanctions. The Russian economy is over. Why didn't he do it day one? I don't care. He said he was going to end the war day one. Why didn't he do all this day one? Why has he been flip-flopping his entire position for the last, 10 months? What's he been doing? Is he that stupid? He must be that stupid, right? Like, if you recognize that what he's doing is good, why didn't he do it first when it was blatantly obvious to every single Democrat that this is what you should be doing, right? Like, this is what they were saying, and he was like, no, and then he's like, oh wait, they're right. Like, Cunha, who was elected to the Illinois House in 2022, is also running for Congress to replace retiring U.S. Representative Jan Schawowski among 4 open House seats in safely Democratic territory. Other candidates in the crowded primary have also publicized their opposition outside a federal immigration processing center, including Kat Abugzela, who was thrown on the ground by federal agents as she protested. It is good that we are in a position where Democratic politicians feel like they have to push back against this stuff. Like, there's not much they can do, but like the fact that they're doing anything about it and they feel like they need to in order to be elected is incredibly good. Like that, we need our politicians to be like, you need to be able to run on like actually being a good politician, but then also you need to be strongly anti-Trump. It needs to be both. Okay. For Hunya, who came to the U.S. in the 1990s from Vietnam and was granted political asylum, the feeling is eerily familiar. My family came as refugees from the Vietnam War, where people were being picked up by the secret police all the time. We believed in the American ideal of due process, he said. It is very concerning that in this country right now, and very disturbing right now, that we are living under this authoritarian regime. Trump wants peace? Yeah, he said he was going to do it day one, though. And he's trying to figure out how to do the thing that all the Democrats have been saying for years, right? Like what is he, like you're just admitting that he is stupid. Like, you do understand that, right? Like it's not a good look for you to be like agreeing with me right now. All right, let's see. Let's get a little fact check going here on Trump is peacemaker. Yes, that's why the war is still going, right? Because he's such a peacemaker. That's why Israel-Palestine is still going, because he's such a peacemaker. That's why he's bombing Venezuelan and Colombian boats and talking about landing troops there, because he's a peacemaker. Like, you're delusional, dog. Oh, I'm dying. Oh, God. Ugh. I'm dying. Ugh. Okay. Here's the facts and context. Sorry. President Donald Trump pulled out of trade talks with Canada Thursday night, furious over what he called a fake television ad from Ontario's provincial government that quoted former U.S. President Ronald Reagan from 38 years ago, criticizing tariffs, Trump's favorite economic tool. This ad features audio excerpts from an April 25, 1987 radio address in which Reagan said, "Over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer." Trump attacked the ad on Truth Social Friday, posting, "Canada cheated and got caught. They fraudulently took a big buy ad saying that Ronald Reagan did not like tariffs when actually he loved tariffs for our country and its national security." The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute criticized the ad on X Thursday night, posting that it misrepresents the presidential radio address to the nation on free and fair trade dated Yeah, because they're a bunch of fucking Republicans. Like, I don't give a shit what their foundation says. Like, they're pointing to the thing Ronald Reagan said, obviously. Like, come on, dude. While Trump called the ad fake, Reagan's words were real, but context is missing. Here's a look at the facts. Reagan, who held office during a period of growing fear over Japan's rising economic might, made the address a week after he himself had imposed tariffs on Japanese semiconductors. He was attempting to explain the decision, which seemed at odds with his reputation as a free trader. Yeah, because guess what? Tariffs aren't inherently bad, and no like normal person holds that position. No Democratic politician holds that position. They hold the position that Donald Trump's way of doing tariffs is retarded. It's a blatantly different type of thing. Like, why are you pretending it's not context that's missing. It's just reality that's missing. Reagan did not, in fact, love tariffs. He often criticized government policies, including protectionist measures such as tariffs, that interfered with free commerce, and he spent much of 1987 radio address spelling out the case against tariffs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars, he said. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So, soon, because of the price made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse. Businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Man, is there anything like that happening now? Is there anything... Man, Yeah, but Trump said it was fake, though, right? But when you look at the economy right now, it's almost like that's exactly what's happening. That's crazy, man. That's wild. It's wild that he would call it fake, but every economic marker is pointing to this being true. Is Donald Trump wrong? No. Not God King. Not Daddy. Not Daddy Trump. Not Big Papa Trump. He couldn't be wrong. Not when he's president. Unacceptable. But Reagan's policies were more complicated than his rhetoric. Yeah, of course they were, because nuance and context and fuck. Oh God, it's absurd that this even has to be explained. In addition to taxing Japanese semiconductors, Reagan slapped levies on heavy motorcycles from Japan to protect Harley. Yes, don't get me wrong, it's a little bit cringe because Harley Davidson motorcycles, I don't really care. Like, that's not national security. You probably shouldn't be doing tariffs on that. Like, he can still make mistakes, but he's still doing like nuanced shit, right? Like. He also strong-armed Japanese automakers into accepting voluntary limitations on their exports to the United States, ultimately encouraging them to set up factories in the American Midwest and South. And he pressured other countries to push down the value of currencies to help make American exports more competitive in the world market. Yeah, because he didn't just do broad, sweeping tariffs on every country. They were particular. They were nuanced. There was strong messaging around them. There was support across the board because of the messaging and the explanation of it. Robert Lightser, a Reagan trade official who served as Trump's top trade negotiator from 2017 through 2021, wrote in his 2023 memoir that President Reagan distinguished between free trade in theory and free trade in practice. Yeah, because you should have a distinguishing there, which Trump is not distinguishing, right? Like, obviously. In 1988, an analyst at the Libertarian Cato Institute even declared Reagan the most protectionist president since Herbert Hoover, the heavyweight champion of protectionists. I mean, don't get me wrong, Reagan was a terrible president. I don't really like Reagan. I think he did a lot of cringe, but... Reagan, though, was no trade warrior. Discussing his semiconductor tariffs in the April 1987 radio address, he said that he was forced to impose them because the Japanese were not living up to a trade agreement, and that such tariffs or trade barriers and restrictions of any kind are steps that I am loath to take. Even that's different. Even the way he talks about it. Like, Trump is excited about his tariffs. He's not saying anything else. Like, Trump's like, everything about this is good. Where Reagan's like, this might suck, but we have to do this for this reason. Like, the nuance, the specificity, fuck off. God, I hate big words. Trump, on the other hand, has no such reticence. He argues that tariffs can protect American industry, draw manufacturing back to the United States, and raise money for the Treasury. Since returning to the White House in January, he has slapped double-digit tariffs on almost every country on Earth and targeted specific products, including autos, steel, and pharmaceuticals. There's arguments for steel. There are arguments for certain pharmaceuticals, but autos, no. No, okay, that's not the problem. The average effective U.S. tariff rate has risen from around 2.5% at the start of 25 to 18%, the highest since 1934, according to the Budget Lab at Yale University. Trump's enthusiastic use of import taxes, he has proudly called himself Tariff Man, has drawn a challenge from businesses and states charging that he's overstepped his authority, which he has, but at the same time, the Congress has the power, but they've given that up in the big beautiful bill because they were like, oh, 1 day is actually infinite time. It was a whole thing. It's so stupid. Okay. The Constitution gives Congress the power to levy taxes, including tariffs, through lawmakers have gradually ceded considerable authority over trade policy to the White House. The Supreme Court is set to hear arguments in the case early next month, and Trump claimed Thursday that the Canadian ad was intended to interfere with the decision of the U.S. Supreme Court and other courts. No, it's just pointing out reality, and just because he doesn't like reality, it's okay. Okay, tariffs aren't good. I don't think he's saying they're bad for yours. It's not big countries overseeing that. People are dumb. People are dumb. I'm not paying attention to any stupid people. Okay, we took that video. Let's finish this.
Finding deviancy down is what we've come to tolerate, just in how our politicians speak and the crooked ways they rig the map. And suddenly nobody's bothered by this. And where's your dignity, people? Then the question I would ask for EJ is, who was right, Obama or Newsom? And I mean Michelle Obama. She had this famous comment years and years ago, when they go low, we go high. Gavin Newsom, maybe it's unfair to him, but the other...
When she said that, I don't think... When was that quote, actually? When was Obama is horrible? Listen, I get it, you're racist. When they go low, we go high. When was this quote? 2016. Because okay, that for the time that absolutely makes sense, because at the time they were hoping like, hey, we think that we have a good coalition, we think that our messaging is better, and they were wrong, but they were correct for the time, for what they knew. Obviously, looking back with hindsight being 2020, you can be like, yeah, they were obviously wrong, but at the time it felt correct, and people were like, yeah, I don't want to be as mean as these people are. So it's kind of a moot point, but like they're both kind of correct. I think Bridget Macron is transgender, not you. I don't care if she is. Listen, she could be trans, asexual, she could be a fucking dog. I don't care. Like, it's a French president's wife. It's not even what? Who cares? Like, why do you care? What sort of weird culture war are you in that you care about that? Like, be normal. Nobody cares. But listen, I'm not saying you don't care, because you care, but you just care about stupid things. You just care about things nobody actually cares about. Like you're like on the culture war train where you're like, the trans, oh, I hate the trans people. Like, okay, shut up. Nobody cares. Like, you are alone on an island pretending that the whole world agrees with you, but nobody agrees with you. Like, Donald Trump was not elected because trans people, right? Like, you don't even understand the basics. Like, come on. Like, go read a book. Go outside. Be normal.
The other alternative is when they go low, we go low.
Charlie Kirk has died by wokest man? Hell yeah. That's true.
Lower. Mm-hmm. And so, put aside morality. What's the smart thing for Democrats to do? It's not
1 minute of silence. No, I don't care.
To me, that sinking to
literally nobody gives a fuck about Charlie Kirk. He's dead. The world has moved on. Okay, everyone's like, oh, remember Charlie Kirk? No, he's already been forgotten. He died, and now he's dead, and now he's gone. Like, okay.
Level of MAGA is the right answer here.
Charlie Kirk is dead. Okay, he died. Like, I don't care. I could care less about Charlie Kirk. Like, he died. I barely knew who he was before he was alive, and I know even less about him now that he's dead.
Seems to me, if people want to turn the page on this moment, they're going to want to turn the page in a little the way they turned the page, and this is not a great example, of Jimmy Carter after Watergate. They're going to want to say, I want somebody so clean, somebody who respects government, somebody who plays by the rules, who will uphold the norms that I remember. And it seems to me that's actually a smarter play for Democrats.
You understand, I'm not mocking him, right? I'm just saying I don't care about him. These are different types of things. Like, use your brain.
I understand the temptation you can't hand away the House in 2026.
Also, can I not mock a dead person? Like, I can mock Hitler, I can mock Charlie Kirk, like, Rip Bozo. I don't, what?
So I understand the temptation, but it seems to me the long-term play here is to go high when they go low.
Just for the record, Texas, the state legislature is imposing those districts on the people of Texas. See, California, they are going to the voters. The voters of California themselves are going to decide in this referendum whether they think this is a necessary thing to do now or not. And my friend here, of course, always quotes Moynihan for his purposes. But I think that what Moynihan counseled very much throughout his career was political realism. And this is not about some abstract argument of whether who goes lower or higher. Of course, there's stuff Trump does that no one should do. But in a straight-up political fight, where power is at stake and where the authoritarianism we talked about earlier in our conversation really needs somebody to check it, winning that next fight really matters. And again, this proposal they put in California acknowledges that this is not the ideal way to do it. It's a temporary expedient.
If I could just, I've heard this argument before. I just don't understand it. That California, the voters get to decide. That there are multiple forms of democracy. We happen to live in a republic where we elect people to make decisions for us. California has this system of referendum where it's direct democracy. I happen to think that's an inferior form of democracy than to electing people who get to make decisions. But it strikes me that Texas is not undemocratic, and so they're both versions of democracy.
You started talking about the people.
What do you mean it's not undemocratic? Like, definitionally, California would be more democratic, right? Like, they're saying, hey, here's a thing we, the elected leaders, think is a good idea. You elected us to do things, and now we are giving another idea back to you to do something. That is more democratic than the Republicans being like, we were elected to make your lives better, but we're going to do gerrymandering unilaterally to just, like, win more political power. Like, it's a different type of thing. What the hell?
People, and the people here, individual voters in California, will have a say on this question in a way they didn't in Texas. And so I agree.
We elect
need
Congress
a
people.
system.
Do I have no say in what my congressman does? No, we elect people.
Well,
yeah, but then you add the extra layer of democracy. One is obviously, but stop being stupid.
I think we'll have to just accept that you guys differ about the.
Would you vote for Prop 50?
No comment. No.
Okay. This guy, he's not up to it. This guy's stupid.
Okay. I would be sorely tempted, to be honest.
Not tempted. You should. It's not about. Oh, my morals. No, it's about political power. You absolute moron.
In this one case.
A great many people cast their votes not on the basis of either foreign policy or culture war battles, but on kitchen table issues. What's happening with the price of food, with the price of groceries, with the price of gasoline at the pump? Life is pretty rough for a lot of Americans right now, and yet the stock market stays in record territory, keeps setting records. Is the U.S. riding for a fall? And if not, why not? EJ?
You know, it's funny. We were talking this weekend in transparency for our listeners and viewers about the fact that we wanted to
You're going to share my don't care.
talk about this. And right after I hung up the phone, I looked at my email, and I had an email from Adam Roberts, an editor at The Economist, a newsletter, which begins with the words, you are probably more exposed to a looming market crash than you think. I think there are a lot of people who are extremely nervous. I don't know what's going to happen in the market. I'm a kind of congenital bear who's predicted 10 of the last 2 downturns. But I do know that there is a real disconnect between what the market has been telling us and the experience of Americans. 2 really good stories in the Times this week. Sydney Ember wrote a story, the headline, Lower Income Americans Are Missing Car Payments. And she points out that this is one of the clearest indications that low and middle income families, the economy's foundation, could be starting to buckle. Day before that, Ben Castleman and Colby Smith, they had a really good piece about how wealthier Americans, buoyed by the stock market, have continued to spend freely while lower income households are hit by inflation and weakening of the job market or pulling back. And so I don't think you can have a successful economy if the middle and the bottom are falling out. The wealthy alone cannot prop up an economy. So call me nervous.
True. I mean, they can for a bit, and they clearly are. Like, they're clearly propping up the economy to a decent percentage. But yeah, no, like right now, like, it's like, you know, got like your floor and like little holes are appearing, little holes here and there. It's like ice, you know, there's like little cracks forming. There's little baby cracks, nothing serious yet, nothing, but like enough pressure applied in the right place, in the right spot in that cracked surface, and it will shatter. It's just a guarantee. It's just a question of when. It's not if, it's when. And chances are looking, the more all this tariff stuff goes on, the more economic insanity happens, the closer we, I think, are looking towards some sort of economic recession, which Kamala Harris, she predicted it. She predicted a recession, so we'll see how that goes.
It's not just about the economy itself. I don't know what's going to happen in the stock market, but this is a very unhealthy situation that explains why so many Americans are discontent.
You know, I don't believe in timing the market, but I've been tempted for the past year to call my broker,
go to cash,
and pull the vast Brooks fortune out of the market. It will hurt the market when you lose that much money, but but I haven't done it, and I'm glad I haven't done it because I've been wrong. And you know, there are some really solid fundamentals. GDP growth's around 3, unemployment's around 4, wage growth's around 4, rent inflation is going down. And so there are some good things in the economy. And yet, for part of the reasons EJ said, and then, you know, look at the economic numbers, and then you look at consumer sentiment. Consumer sentiment is in the basement. Mm-hmm. And so you look at the numbers, it seems okay, but consumer sentiment is in the basement because people feel rotten about the country. Yeah. And then the big issue here, which is what everybody is suddenly talking about, is are we on the verge of an AI bubble? And the reason for thinking we're on the verge of an AI bubble are pretty damn obvious. The combined, all these big companies, Meta and OpenAI, they're spending on the order of $400 or $500 billion a year. We have the total consumer spending on AI is $12 billion. What? You're spending $500 billion next year? And where's the revenue? And now they're obviously, and then you add the fact is you can't just build a chip plant the way you built a Ford plant where you can use the machinery for 10 years. It's obsolete in 10 months. And so you think, wow, they're just vastly overspending as they did in the railways, as they did in the early car. We're going to have a big crash and then AI will be fine. The counter argument to that is that AI revenues, while small, are really going up fast. And the second thing is AI is not like any other technology. It's not like the railroads. It's like inventing omniscience. And maybe this is a remarkable.
I don't know if I like that. I feel like the railroads, the car, like they were, for the time, I feel like just as big of inventions as AI. Like, yeah, of course you can't compare trains and railroads to AI, but like for where technology was at the time and for what railroads did for America and like what AI will do for America and for other countries, like it's the same thing. Like I get what he's saying, but it is the same thing.
Remarkable opportunity. They all think so because they're all investing zillions of dollars, but it feels a little bubblicious to me.
Well, I've heard comparisons to 2000 and the dot-com crash, the bubble. In an article in The Economist, the Harvard professor Geeta Gopinath writes that a stock market decline comparable to the 2000 dot-com crash would wipe out, she estimates, $20 trillion in wealth for American households. That's the equivalent of about 70% of last year's gross domestic product. And there's just a lot of money out there.
I am going to call my broker after.
Tell him Robert told you to.
Well, look, I think we should wrap up as we did last time by finding in the midst of all of this.
All right. Well, there we go. That's that conversation. Man. What a time to be a fucking live, eh? Bloody hell. What is this?
There's shock, anger, disbelief. It's a video released 15 minutes ago on social media. A voice yells out, "Bro, they're burning the 10 Commandments."
Has anybody actually proven that this video is real?
As long as I have all these followers, I'm going to be broadcasting like mad.
If it's cooking, we can't stop it from cooking.
I don't trust technology. I want a human being to tell me that they saw it.
500,000 views.
It's a parent's nightmare, and you've got national politics involved, state politics.
I didn't get.
Okay.
Do you want?
Breaking the deadlock. Truth under fire.
Funding for this program was provided in part by a grant from Rosalind P. Walter Foundation and by a grant from Anne Ray Foundation, a Margaret A. Cargill philanthropy, and by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. Location furnished by the New York Historical.
Panelists, welcome. We'll begin our story in the state of Middlevania, in the town of Libertyville, where many of you live. And right away, we have a difficult decision for you, Eddie Glaude. Mr. Glaude, you are a high school civics teacher, beloved by your students. Here's your dilemma. The Libertyville School Board has just decided that the 10 Commandments must be hung on the wall of every classroom. You're holding the poster that the school board has printed out, purchased for you to put up on your wall. What are you going to do with it? Really?
Put it under my desk.
Why?
I've made the choice. We're not going to do that.
Do you have a problem with the 10?
Based. It's not about a problem with the 10 Commandments. It's nothing to do with the 10 Commandments. It's obvious. It's separation of church and state. Like, I don't understand. Why would a Christian even want the government involved? Like the Bible is very clear. It's like the Bible's very clear. It's like it's sin. It's like the heart, right? It's like souls. Like the government can't solve the problems that Christianity points out. Like that's just very obvious. Like
10 Commandments. Are you in favor of lying,
No, I'm a Christian.
dishonoring? You're a Christian.
Yeah.
And yet,
I believe in separation of church and state. Fundamentally.
you have kids in college, tuition bills, a mortgage.
Indeed.
Are you prepared for what might happen to you if you take that step?
No. But there are principles that I hold that are a reflection of how I was raised in a small Catholic community before I made my way to Libertyville. And I want to live up to what my mom and my dad taught me.
Wow. Tina Deskovich, you are a member of the Libertyville School Board, the very school board that voted for this Ten Commandments policy. You are very popular. You were elected to your seat by a wide margin. I've got to ask, were you in favor of putting the Ten Commandments up on walls for our students?
It's a great question that you really do have to ponder. Is it being put on the wall because you're trying to preach Christianity to the classroom, or is it being put on the wall because of the historical reference that the Ten Commandments has in the founding of our country?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Don't do it. It's a blatantly religious thing. Separation of church and state. Super easy. Sometimes I get it's like a panel and it's like, oh, intellectuals thinking through things, but like sometimes we don't need to think through things. Sometimes there are things that are just true and just obvious, and you could just say it and just act that way.
What do you think?
I think it has a great historical record when it comes to the founding of our country and what we were built on in Judeo-Christian values. So I don't think it's a religious thing necessarily to put them on the wall. And if the school board voted, sir, that you need to put them on the wall, you're probably going to lose your job real quick if you put them on the floor.
And in fact, the school board did vote. It was a 3-2 vote in favor of this policy. Tension is building in Libertyville. People are upset, unsure about this Ten Commandments policy. Let's meet two other of our community members. Stephanie Rule, Rick Wilson. The two of you live here in Libertyville too, and you're married to each other.
Lucky Rick.
Lucky Rick. Absolutely. Stephanie, you are a well-known, nationally known TV journalist. Rick, you are a campaign manager In fact, the campaign manager for Middle
Base,
Vanya's
Lincoln Project.
sitting governor who is locked in a tight re-election battle. The two of you have heard about this school board Ten Commandments policy, and you've heard about a protest against the Ten Commandments policy. Will you go to the protest?
I think we should, because the authentic values of this country, embedded in the Constitution, that we will have a bright line separation between church and state, that the government will have no role in establishing a religion.
But I think we should show up to stand up for our teachers.
Absolutely.
If we're lucky enough to have the fantastic teachers that we do, why are we putting them in this position? And if they don't feel comfortable doing this,
right,
then let's make sure we have their backs, because God help it, if these teachers get fired, who do you think is going to replace them?
Let's go now to our protest in Libertyville's town square. Tina Deskovich, you're there with the other members of the school board. You're also joined by your son, who's a senior in high school. Somewhere, an argument breaks out. People are yelling, shouting, they're angry, they're shoving and pushing, punches are thrown. Town square is descending into chaos. Finally, the police come and they break up the scene when, all around, people's faces are lit up by their cell phone screens. There's shock, anger, disbelief. It's a video released 15 minutes ago on social media, already up to 30,000 views. It's a video of the protest that just happened. A voice yells out, "Bro, they're burning the Ten Commandments." And then the camera pans over to a burst of flame on the ground. It is a copy of the poster that the school board purchased to be hung in the classrooms. It's on fire. The video ends. Walter Isaacson.
The answer is it doesn't matter, right? Like, it's free speech. It's you burn it, yeah, that's free speech. Doesn't matter if the video is real, doesn't matter if it's fake. It's free speech. You're allowed to do that. Get fucked. Like, sorry. Super easy. These are not complicated issues.
Do you believe it? This video.
You know, unfortunately, you're probably going to believe it instantly. And in this day and age, you really got to check. It'd be easy to fake that video.
Interesting. Ms. Deskovich, do you believe it?
My initial thoughts would be this is probably true, but you haven't asked, but I would not reshare that information at that point yet until I could confirm that that actually happened there.
Who did it? Because the assumption, let's say it was set on fire, it doesn't mean that it was a protester.
Let me tell you what we know. It's not generated by AI. It's not manipulated by AI. There's a geotag on the video. It was taken here at Town Square. There's a timestamp. It was taken during the heat of the protest. So, Mr. Isaacson, do you believe it now?
Yeah, I definitely believe it. And, I'd worry about the fact that the algorithm of whatever social media I'm using is going to use that to really make things worse.
Ms. Deskovich?
I don't trust technology. I want a human being to tell me that they saw it, they witnessed it, they did it. I would have to have more information still. And I have to do my due diligence. I have to feel good about it. I have to know, because I know when I reshare that as a leader in the community, if I share that, people will trust. And so you're asking if I believe it. And if I believe it, I'm going to share it.
I see.
And
so you're not there yet?
I'm not there yet.
Lots of people are paying attention to the video, especially you, Roger Severino, and you, Kristen Davidson. Mr. Severino, you are the Challenger Party's candidate for governor of Middle Vania. The election is in 2 weeks, and polls are tied. Ms. Davidson, you are Mr. Severino's trusted campaign manager. It's now been an hour since the video was first released on social media. It's up to 500,000 views. Donations through the roof. Phones off the hook, calls to volunteer. All because people believe that you, Roger Severino, will stand up for the Ten Commandments.
Roger Severino, the hair. Ooh, okay. So this is a genuinely evil person right here. Just to point out, this isn't like a meme thing. This is an evil person.
Are they right about that?
Absolutely.
I think we should go to the town. We should go there and hold an event, and we should probably rally together teachers who also.
Like this, it's so cucked. They're so cucked. They're like, we need to go support the Ten Commandments. Like, no, you don't. What's wrong with you? You're unaware of the Bible. You're unaware of the Constitution. Like, for them to be correct, they would literally need to be the stupidest people alive, because nothing in reality agrees with their perception.
Be fine with the 10 Commandments. Let's get some of the school board members, maybe some families, and let's even reach out to the teacher who didn't want the 10 Commandments shown. Let's try to, go and surprise folks and go sit down with him. That's what I think we should do.
Could we go one step further? Let's get a granite 10 Commandments monument on a truck, and you bring it into the town square, and then we say to the people, this cannot be burned down, and I dare you to try to burn it here.
They're so soy. They're so cringe. They're like, you can't burn the 10 Commandments, so we're gonna do rock. Like, oh, dude, these people need mental health. These people all need to go to like therapy, dude.
If we can send a fundraising email that says chip in $10 to fund the granite 10 Commandments.
It's extraordinarily politically convenient that you've got a granite 10 Commandments at the ready and a fundraising email.
Hold up. The question here is not between hanging the 10 Commandments in the classroom and some idiot who may or may not have burned it. The question is, are you going to pay attention to the black letter text of the United States Constitution when we talk about no establishment of religion? You want your culture war issue front and center.
Constitution
Based.
says Congress
All right, what is the evil person going to say? What's he going to say?
make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. We had established churches at the
You are trying to drive a very thin wedge into very clear black letter.
No.
Based. God, he's so smart, and Severino is so evil and stupid that he they're so weaselly, they're so wormy, they're such betas, dude. They're such slimy little nerds.
This is our history.
Okay, folks.
This is our history. No, it's not. Nobody grows up learning about America and is like, yeah, it's a Christian nation. You're retarded if you believe that America is a Christian nation. You are a stupid person.
I want to meet the governor of the great state of Pennsylvania, who's sitting at his desk, Mitch Landrieu.
Got promoted. Love that.
Congratulations, Governor.
Thank you.
Although in 2 weeks, re-election.
I'm out.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. So, Governor Landrieu, you are sitting at your desk. It's now been 2 hours since the Ten Commandments video was released. 1 million views, perhaps in part because of this very persuasive fundraising email. I'm wondering, if the shoe were on the other foot, if there were a viral video out there that was bad for the Severino campaign, good for your campaign, would you do the same thing?
I wouldn't. If you are
get fucked. He's like, nope. I'm just gonna take the moral high ground, get absolutely devastated, and this bitch over here, look at him. He's like, he's like trying to pretend he's all like intellectual and stuff, but he's actually just crying on the inside because he's devastated by the fact that he has to get raped anally by based liberals.
a sitting governor, your first order of business is to keep the peace. And to try.
Dude, look how normal he is. Look how normal he looks compared to Severino. Look how normal this is. Like, this is... I want more politicians. I want people like this. Severino, stupid person. This guy, based and smart.
Try to make sure everybody's safe and secure.
I am just dying to know what your campaign manager, Bulldog, Rick Wilson, thinks about the idea that something happens on social media that's bad for your opponent and good for you. You wouldn't touch it?
I agree, and I also agree that doing the right thing and doing the right political thing can be the same thing. Being the bigger person, not playing the culture war circus
Dude,
game.
it's so good. They're literally like the whole Severino part. They're trying to like engage in the oh, we're just asking questions, but look at this. And they're just like, nope, you're stupid. We're not engaging. You're just crying about nothing. This is literally how you need to interact with Republicans and anybody on the right at this point, is just dismiss everything because nothing they say is serious. It's not genuine and it doesn't matter. It's like these people care about unimportant random garbage.
That is played by one of the parties very frequently is something that I think a lot of voters are now looking for in the country. And in Pennsylvania, obviously we've had great success with electing Mitch because in part he takes that upper path.
Ms. Coulter, you are a national
Oh God. All right. What's she gonna say?
Prominent political commentator with an enormous following on social media. Do you have any intuition about why so many Americans are captivated by the 10 Commandments burning in Libertyville?
I have no idea what makes something go viral. As long as I have all these followers, though, I am going to be broadcasting like mad. Roger is right. The Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, and that's so the federal government can't stop states from establishing.
No, that's not. Are you dumb? Are you that dumb? What is your... You're just wrong. That's not even a debate. You're just incorrect.
Religion.
So is this what you put out in your podcast?
Yep.
Dude, I can't believe these people are this dumb that they literally just make they literally pull arguments out of thin air and they're like, look at my serious argument. You have to pretend that my argument is serious and you have to engage with it politically. No, don't engage with this bullshit. Just call them stupid and move on.
I don't know.
All right, listen, I'm so hungry and I have other things that I have to do today. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back on Monday with more epic streaming with lighting that is poggers. Point for the day: don't engage in bullshit. These people are unserious politically, unserious intellectually. Just dismiss them offhand. Just dismiss them and move on. Don't even engage because nothing they say is serious and they're just crybabies. Across the board. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't do drugs.